Waiting, waiting. We're live. Hello. I don't
Hello,
know if
everybody.
anybody's there. Let's have a look. I don't appear to have anybody yet in my chat, but that's okay. I didn't give
It
people
is.
very much notice because I thought I had more time before the stream than I did. Never mind. Sorry about that,
No, it
everybody.
happened. It
I was like,
happens.
I messaged you with the link and I was like, I told you I'd get this to you in a couple of days. And it's well over a week later. And yeah.
No,
Sorry about that.
no, it
But
is fine. That's life.
it really is. The days just all merged together, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I haven't done that yet.
Oh my
So,
God.
but that's okay, because as it turns out, our lovely friend Matt, who runs the Sunday pub, isn't feeling very well today. So the
Oh, poor
Sunday pub,
guy.
for those who usually attend, hopefully will see the message and come visit us instead. So,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
but
poor guy. I hope he feels better.
yeah, it's a stomach bug apparently, because not this time, last night, he messaged and said, yeah, it's all fine, just going ahead. And obviously overnight he's gone, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. But that's okay. So, we do have some people here. Hooray. Okay, we've got Rogue and
Awesome.
Thonal. Oh, Thonal always
Oh my
comes. Thank
gosh.
you,
Yes, he
darling.
does.
He's
Oh,
such a good fan. Honestly, worth you wait. But
yes.
so yeah, we were talking about cats before we came live, and I haven't yet got all of the story of Darko's cats, but we have 4. One of whom looks Burmese in colouring, but has nothing to do with the breed.
Nothing at all. I don't know. He just lucked up.
I would say so. Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Matt's made it as well, and Maxwell. Hello,
Matt, hope you
everybody.
feel better. Hey,
I
Maxwell.
reckon. But so what are your cats' names? Who lives with you and who
Oh,
doesn't?
okay. The 2 that live with me is Ozzy Pawsborn. That's the Burmese cat.
Oh, I like it.
Yes. And Blanche, who is a female calico.
Please tell me it's after the Golden Girls.
Yes, because she is a diva. Oh my God.
I love it.
Yes. Oh my God.
Because,
And yeah, she doesn't
Ozzy and
like
Blanche.
anybody.
I love it.
Yeah, I do.
Really?
I love that name. Yeah, she doesn't. But me and my husband, that's it. She likes no one else.
Oh, okay. That's because
Yeah.
she clearly has class. No,
Yes.
nobody else is quite good enough.
Yes.
So.
No, like our mothers will come over and she's like, no, never, no.
No, they just don't do it for her, huh?
Not at all.
Oh, that's
Oh my
funny.
gosh. It's Blanche Petite, not at all. She's small in frame, but she's a chunky monkey. She is
chunk?
pretty.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, she is.
Hey,
And
they're so cuddly when they're big like that.
they
Oh, so good.
are. I just
Hello,
love them.
hello.
Hello,
Look, everybody's
Shadia,
rolling on in.
Evie.
Hello.
Oh, Robin. Hey. Oh,
Yeah, it's lovely to see
yes.
you all.
Yes, it
so who are the
is.
2 that live with your mum?
One is Magneto.
Nice.
And yes, he's a big orange tabby.
Oh,
And
the
he's
best
also
kind. Orange
yes,
Toms,
they
man.
are.
You can't go wrong.
Yes, and that's my baby. You know, we all have, even though we love our children equally, that's my baby right there. And because
there's always one that's
he's
special.
yes, because me and him have a special bond.
Yep.
And I just love him so much, his personality and everything. And he's a really large cat.
Okay.
But he swears he's a kitten. Like he always sleeps in these little tiny places and shits, and it's hilarious.
It's the meme, isn't it? If I fit, I sit.
Exactly. Yes.
And they're kind of overflowing out of the whatever it is they're trying to sit in.
Exactly. Like anything, he'll sit on top of a little bench, and it's like half of him is off of it, and I'm like, "You're really comfortable like that, okay? You know, I'm not gonna bother you."
And you look at them in confusion. You're like, really?
Yeah, like okay, no, like.
Aww.
And so he clearly has like a disorder of some kind where he thinks he's a lot smaller than he is. But
body dysmorphia.
I love him for
it's
it.
the thing.
Yes, he has body dysmorphia.
It can go both ways.
Yeah,
If
yes,
he
he
thinks
can.
he's young and svelte, good on him.
Yes, that's true. That's how I'm gonna look at it from now on.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh
It's
man,
all about the
and
self-confidence. So
that is very true. And he is a very confident cat.
good.
Yes, yes. And the last one is Storm, also after
Storm.
the X-Men,
I
and
was just
because
going
her
to say, bit of
color
a
is
theme
yeah,
there.
yes, and her color is very cloudy, kind of
Oh,
storm.
lovely.
Yeah, and she's a pretty cat. She is tiny. She's a very thin cat, and even though she eats like a horse, but she doesn't gain a pound. It's remarkable.
There's always those ones.
Yes, yes. And that's my mother's baby. Like they have a
Oh,
special
okay.
bond. Yeah, I go over like if I feed her, she's all on me or anything and
Hmm.
everything. But otherwise, she's like, I want nothing to do with you. I'm going
Yeah.
with mom. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
It's odd when cats do that because they can be really
yes,
blatantly, it's cupboard love. Seriously, unless you're feeding me, I
yes,
don't care. And then there's
exactly.
the one who loves you, and you're like, oh,
Yes,
see, he's my
I know it's so
baby.
special.
Yeah.
Yes, like when I go visit my mom, he comes and greets me at the door and
Oh,
everything. Yes, I just love it. It's such a
yeah.
such a great welcome home.
They, I mean, I've had many Ginger Toms over the years, and they have the most character. They, they, they're usually a little bit crazy, and
They are.
and that's not to say that all cats aren't a little bit crazy, because they are, but there's something about a Ginger Tom. They definitely are a class alone. But
They
so
are
so
very
you've
unique.
been a fan of the X-Men. So did you read the comics, or were you was it the movies?
It was the cartoons actually when I was a
Oh,
kid.
okay.
Yes. Never read. I read the comics sporadically, here
Okay.
and there, but I was definitely really into the Saturday morning cartoon and
See, I'm too
yeah.
old. They came out after my morning cartoon phase.
Oh yeah, after you. Well, you're never too old for cartoons. You can always go back
No, but when you're a little bit too old for them, you're just like, I'm going to sleep in on a Saturday morning. Yeah,
That is
I'm still,
true.
yeah, I'm
That
either
is
still
true.
drunk or trying to avoid the hangover Saturday morning
Yeah.
kind of thing. So,
No, I get that. I know, I totally get that, now because I didn't went
yeah,
through a phase of that. So yeah, I can
yeah.
understand. But I fell in
And
love
then
with
you
the
break that
X-Men.
routine, don't you?
Hey, you do. Like
And
I'm
then
too
you're like,
old for
oh,
this now.
other things to do.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I need
I
shopping.
forget that cartoon even exists, and then every now and then someone references it, and I think everybody loved it so much.
Yes, they
So
did. It was a phenomenon.
yeah, and
Yeah,
there's been a few of those, but I do
it
think that the
has.
X-Men did it well.
It did. I even have the theme song as my ringtone. That's how much
Have
I
you?
was. Yes.
Okay, so if you could be an X-Men, then if you could have a mutant power, what would your mutant power be? Have you thought about that?
Wow, that is a good question. I've always liked for power. Now, power wise, I always liked Jean Grey because I thought she
Okay,
was like ultimate mutant. Like if I
yeah.
was to be
I
one,
mean,
I
she
want
has all the
powers
things.
exactly like similar to
Yeah.
her. And especially when she's the Phoenix. So
Yes,
uh, yeah, definitely love Jean Grey.
fair enough.
And I don't know, all the females I think are awesome. Like Storm, oh my
Yeah,
god, she's amazing. Scarlet Witch, like all the females are just I think just kill it
yeah.
in X Men. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are pretty good. And we've had a few more show up. We
Oh
had
yeah.
Brian show up there a minute ago. Hey,
Oh hey
Brian.
Brian, what's going on, Brian?
Ref,
Yeah.
hi, Ref.
Oh,
So
Raph
yeah,
is here. I didn't even see him. Okay. Oh
but
yeah,
he's stuck on
the
the train.
Rogue.
I think he had some drama.
Oh, he is. Oh no.
Uh, that was in a message to do at the Sunday pub. Um, oh, we've just got a hey, so that's okay.
Okay.
But yeah, the I always felt that Storm she got shafted a bit in the movies. Because you're like, she just didn't get
Totally. Oh my
anything. I'm like,
gosh.
she is so much
Yeah,
cooler than this.
she
And she
is. They
just
did
didn't
not.
get anything to do.
No, they didn't
And
do her justice.
they
Yeah.
really didn't.
Yeah.
And
I think
she
she
got
needs
some
her
of the
own
worst
thing.
fun. I
Yeah.
think like her origin story would be great.
It would be. That
That
would
would
be.
make a great movie. But
Yes.
but I think the superhero movies are getting a bit oversaturated. We need to maybe let that breathe for a minute.
I agree. I definitely had some Marvel fatigue a couple of
Yeah, I
years
think
ago
a lot of
at the
us did.
end. Yeah, and I'm like, because I haven't really watched many of the new shows on Disney
Yeah.
Plus or anything since like the original conclusion of
Mm,
Endgame and all that. Like I didn't.
yeah.
It's like okay, I'm good, I'm done. I need a break for like several years now. Because before it
Yeah.
would be several years break between these
That's right.
franchises, and now it's just like left and right, you know. And
I think
yeah, I can only take but
what
so
bothered
much.
me, what bothered me was that it got to a point where you had to have watched a TV show for a
Yes,
movie to make
yes,
sense, and that really
yes,
rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like,
yes.
no, I should be able to just go to a movie. I shouldn't need to do homework. So yeah, I
No,
was like,
yes,
not
I
playing that
hate that
game.
now. With all the crossovers, and that's
Yeah.
I was so angry when I first time I watched the Arrow. I binge
Oh, of
watched it
course, with the
from
CW.
the
Oh,
yes. Oh my god, I
shocking
was
with
like,
crossovers.
yes. I'm like, so I have to watch like 5 or 6 different shows to understand what's going on. I was so mad, like, because I was like
Yeah.
several seasons in, and things just started not to make any sense
Yeah, you're like,
because
who are
I
these
didn't watch the
people? What is
exactly.
the plotline? Why is
Yes,
this relevant? Yeah,
exactly. And I'm like, I wouldn't even start it if I'd known this because
yeah,
now it's a waste of time. So yeah, I don't like crossovers are cool, but not they make them so essential to the story that they can't go and watch without you enjoying what
yeah.
you want to see. So I don't
Oh God, yeah.
that
I mean, the
formula.
CW
Mm-mm.
had one of my absolute favorite shows of all time, and this is in New Zealand. We don't have the CW, so I only know that it
Okay.
exists on the CW because I'm a nerd and I look stuff up. So, but I watched Supernatural, and I adore like I have all the DVDs because
Oh my God, me
I'm a
too.
bit
Like
obsessive.
behind me, that's like supernatural. Saying I have like all the supernatural characters that as pop figures. Yeah, I'm with
Nice.
you.
So I
Yeah,
loved that the only crossover we ever got in Supernatural was with Scooby Doo.
Scooby Doo, and that was great.
It was
Yes,
great because the
that was
meme had been
great.
going around for years of the of Baby and the Mystery Wagon both at the same place, and the meme
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, shit's going down."
You know, and it's funny. I did
So,
not even
yeah,
notice that until you mentioned it in like a Sunday pub or something.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
and it was a few years ago, but it was everywhere because as Supernatural was sort of getting into the 12th, 13th season, it became so meta and so self-aware that you
it
said, yeah,
did.
that could happen. And then it did happen, and it was glorious.
Yes, it's one of my favorite episodes of the entire series.
Yeah.
Yes, especially
But,
as a Scooby Doo fan.
oh, yeah. The
Yeah.
fact that there was a genuine Scooby-Doo
Yes.
episode production
Mhm.
cast, it was like they weren't half measuring this. They did it properly.
They were
And it
serious.
was still so funny. I loved it. It was so much fun. But
Have the refrigerator monologues? No, I'm not familiar with that, Raph.
Catherine M. Valente. Oh,
Hmm.
always such very interesting sounding books from Rath.
And always,
Evie's reading The Saint of Bright Daughters. Nice.
you have failed this city. No, no, it's fine.
Yes. But, I mean, going back to the if you could have a mutant superpower,
Mhm.
I make a big joke of it in my house. Well, our house, my friend and I's house, that
Mhm.
everyone has a mundane superpower and it'll be something weird. My mundane superpower is that I don't lose socks ever. I
That is
all of
a
my socks are in pairs, and when they wear out, I throw them away. I don't lose them. Do you have a mundane superpower?
hmm. Wow, that is a good one.
Like some people always make perfect rice, or somebody might always get the weather right and have an umbrella on a day that rains. But just little things that they always get right.
I I always know, like I say 95% of the time who's going to win in a singing competition. I
Oh,
always guess correctly. Yeah,
so you got a good
that's
ear.
yeah, I got it. So I think that would be my mundane superpower.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good
and
good
because
judge of vocal technique.
Yes, and like star quality. I should have been a record executive or something.
Oh, clearly,
Yeah.
American
Yes.
Idol, eat your heart out. But
Yes.
Donald says, superpower, it would be super, would be never to be in a room with only stupid people. Oh my goodness. Oh,
Oh yeah, I have to agree. That's a yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
having
Huh.
said that, there's that whole never try and be the smartest person in the room either. Like you can learn from everybody.
Right. Yeah, she have the isn't it like
Even
a
not the brightest
Confucius?
people have something to
You
share.
can. That's true. That is a good point.
So, keeping socks in pairs
Yes.
is not.
Yeah, how do you do it?
I'm just me. It's actually probably attached to my history and trauma and OCD-ish kind of tendencies. But yeah, I've never lost socks. I just don't. In fact, I was talking to a woman earlier in the year. We had to stay out of the house because we had problems with lead paint removal had got into the house, and we had to go out while it got cleaned. So I was out in a motel, and I got talking to the cleaner, and we bonded over our mutual OCD cleaning stuff, to the point where she was like, "Pigs," and I went, "They have to be the same." And she's like, "Yes, they do." So then we got into a conversation about, okay, so do you do this color by type of clothing or by where they are on the washing line? And she goes, "Well, I've used," and we got into this really big discussion until we both ended up going, "That's why we now buy all the same color pegs." It's like, I found a person with the same crazy as me.
So that's why you're perfect friendship. Have a perfect friendship, right then.
It's like, that was just the craziest thing, because that is one of what I consider my not normal crazy things.
We all have them.
those too.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah,
cause now my husband is like you. He's very organized. He never loses socks or anything. But me, at least when it comes to clothes, like I'm a mess. Like clothes everywhere, shoes, socks, everything everywhere. I can't keep anything together, so I have to always repurchase socks because I lose matches all the time. It's total waste of money, and I need to really do better.
You should do better.
Yes.
You got to look
I wish I
after
could
these
like.
things,
Yeah, I need to get rich so I can hire one of those closet or wardrobe organizers who like come into your house and organize your space for you.
It's a waste of money though, because they can make it look
Yeah.
great, but it's just like someone cleaning your house, because if you don't keep it up, it doesn't matter.
That's a good point.
So,
That is a very good point.
It has
And
to
I would
work for
not.
you, But yes, I am happy
So
about that,
Evie
Emily,
can
getting
relate.
someone else. And I'm sorry, Evie, but I don't believe that. Okay. I've met you. You're like one of the most organized people I know. So many fingers in so many pies. Like Evie kind of runs quite a big chunk of our corner of booktube behind the scenes.
That's true. She is. I forgot about that. Yeah, Evie. You do.
She's pretty organized.
Yeah, you are. Maybe she just does that for other people.
Maybe. But we do value Aaron, because I was saying to brain blank, Ben, Books with Genghis Khan. He did a guess the book covers challenge, and his best friend came and did it with him because his wife wasn't keen on going on camera. And I was like, that's really sad, because we like to claim the spouses of our booktubers. We do. We all love Christina. We all know that Evie's partner is Aaron. We don't see Aaron, but we know Aaron.
Yes.
We worry about Aaron if he's not well.
Yes.
Yes. We kind of claim.
Yeah, it's one big family.
Absolutely. I mean, Jimmy had his wife on about 2 weeks ago, talking about her reading experiences with some books, and that was fabulous. And again, it's like, you're part of the channel. You might not be on camera, but the support of a spouse is so important, because it takes a
It
lot of
is.
time to do this, and it's time you're taking from potentially together time. So to have that support's really important. So you
It
clearly
really
have
is.
that with your husband. So yay.
I do. I do.
So
His name is
what
Jake.
I was going to
Um,
say, what are we allowed to know about Jake?
yeah. His name is Jake.
Okay.
He loves reading, but not fiction. He's a totally
Oh, he's a
100%
learner.
nonfiction guy. Yeah, he's pretty erudite in autodidactic. Um, so we often debate on the merits of fiction because he also is like a bit of a snob. I mean, I love him to death, but he is definitely a snob when it comes to reading.
Okay.
And he just refuses to give it a try. He said he may one day give Game of Thrones a try because he
Mm-hmm.
loved the show so much. So he said if there was one fiction novel he'd read, it would be Game of Thrones. So
Okay. Yeah, that's,
you know,
hey, if he enjoyed the show, then the books are definitely going to be a winner.
yes, yeah, and he's a
He
history
might.
buff, so
Oh, okay. So yes, he would
mhm,
very much enjoy that then, I think.
he would.
Um,
He would.
but the 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 fiction non-fiction thing is always uh, it's an interesting point to be snobby about, in my opinion.
It is, and I read both,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I love fiction and nonfiction. I love
Hmm.
fiction more, of
Yeah.
course, but I love nonfiction as well, especially a good autobiography or biography. I think
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's
Yeah. That's
interesting.
Evie's question there is what sort of fiction is non-fiction is Jake into? Yeah.
He definitely likes biographies and autobiographies as well. He also loves anything to do with Western history, particularly like royal history. He can tell you
Okay.
anything about the entire royal lineage from the beginning. Like
Nice.
yes, he knows all the kings and queens and duchesses.
Interesting.
Do chai. I don't know what the plural of Dutch, but he knows it all. Yeah,
Cheese.
the
Yeah.
cheese. Like,
Yeah.
we tried to watch the Netflix show. Gosh, is it Queen?
The
What is
Crown?
the Crown? There we go.
Yeah.
And like we were watching one episode and he kept like having to pause and telling me like this scene was inspired by this particular
Yeah.
event. I'm like, hun, we're
I
not
was
watching this
that.
together.
I
Yes.
have to admit, I was doing that as well. It's like, oh, I know what this is. And my niece
Yeah.
was watching it, and I was like, this is based on a thing. And
Yes,
she's like, did that actually happen? I'm like, oh my God, this actually happened worse
yes.
than what they're showing you. And yeah, no.
Yeah. We made it through like 2 episodes and I was like, I'm going to watch this by myself. Then I'll come to you with questions, like if I have any.
I'm okay with the adaptation.
Exactly. Yes. But I
Fair
appreciate
enough.
his passion. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it a wanting to sort of know the whys of the why things happened, or is it about just knowing the facts? Like, is it sort of curiosity or a gap in knowledge?
I think it's a gap in knowledge.
Okay.
Just wanting to know those things, and especially a part of history that I can't relate to at all,
Hmm.
and have no connection to. I think
Yeah.
it's very interesting.
Fair
He
enough.
got off easy, Darko.
Did he though? But no.
Yeah.
But that means that you have watched The Crown, and I'm pretty certain you'd be watching or have watched House of the Dragon. Do you have thoughts on Matt Smith as an actor, who obviously was the Doctor rather fabulously, in my opinion, and then played the Duke of Edinburgh, and then has now gone on to play Daemon Targaryen, the Rogue Prince?
I've watched the first season of House of Dragon, not
Mm-hmm.
not the second, and I think he's a phenomenal actor. But I'll also think, and could just be my ignorance as an American, I find that British actors excel anyway in acting,
Mm-hmm.
like as for compared to American actors. Like I've never seen a bad performance from a British actor yet. Um, and I think he's no different because every show that's produced in over in the UK is better, I think, than like the quality of acting anyway. It's always to me superior to here in America. Like I've never seen something that I was like, oh, this is terrible. But in some American films, I'm like, how did this get
Mm.
made? I'm like, who paid for this?
Who paid for this?
Yeah.
Like somebody signed off on this.
Yes, and I don't understand. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think he's a remarkable actor.
yeah, he is. So is there a reason that you haven't got into season 2 yet for House of the Dragon?
Probably because I have a hard time. I only can focus on one show at a time, which
Oh,
is I know
okay.
it's
Oh,
kind of
so that means you're
weird.
watching something else. Oh,
Yes. So right now I'm
okay.
watching Dexter.
Okay.
Yeah. So because I was into it when it was on television, and so I hadn't watched it since its conclusion many years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I decided to, because it's funny, I restarted my Netflix subscription to get prepared to watch Supernatural like in the fall. That's like my fall
Yep.
binge is Supernatural. Then I
Mhm.
saw then Dexter popped up and said, watch again. I was like, oh wow, yeah, I haven't watched all the seasons. And so I decided to go ahead and
Ah,
yeah, and
just
catch up.
polish that off.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair
And then
enough.
that'll
I
take
have to
me
admit, I'm
into
rewatching the Umbrella Academy at the moment because I haven't watched the last
oh
season yet. So
wow. I
I'll
haven't
just
checked that
rewatch
out.
all of it. And yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm
and I'm
on
a very
halfway through season 2 again.
see. I'm a very heavy rewatcher. It's
Yeah.
hard to get me into a new show.
Oh,
I
yes.
rewatch, yeah, very hard. I watch the same thing over and over and over again, and
Yeah.
it's pretty ridiculous. Yeah.
What? It's a comfort thing. It's like, no, I know I'm
Yes.
going to enjoy it.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
Yes, I
no.
do. Now, unless a friend who taste is very similar, like says you must check this out, then I'll check it out. But
And even
other
then, you
than
have
that,
to be in the right frame of mind. You have to be
exactly. You
wanting something new.
understand.
Yeah.
You understand me. Yeah.
Otherwise, you're like,
Yes.
it could be brilliant, but I'm not interested today.
No,
So,
nah.
yeah.
Maybe next year.
Maybe. So, Thanos asked if Realm of the Elderlings would work as a TV show. I
Hmm.
personally don't think so, unless they only did live ships.
That's what I was going to
Because
say. Live Shifts would be a great
Fitz's
TV show.
yeah,
Hmm.
but Fitz's
Yeah.
story is so in his head that
Hmm.
what would the show be about?
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
I can't see it being gripping television, but live ships could be amazing if they got the effects right. Because if they got the ships
Yeah.
wrong, that would be painful.
It would be.
But
Yeah,
it
it would
could
have to be
work
a
because
pretty.
stuff happens outside of
Yeah.
people's heads. So
Yes, that would be awesome. It would be had to have a pretty hefty budget to pull it
it
off.
would, but it could
Yeah,
be a
it
starting
could
point for
be.
some unknown actors. Because
Yeah.
I had a discussion a little while ago about the ethnicity of Fitz and the
Mm.
characters in the Duchies. And I've always seen them in my mind as sort of uh, Latina, Latinx, kind of
Hmm.
mid, and just that's just what formed in my head from what was given to me on the page. And so it was
Interesting.
really quite astonishing to me when somebody else has said, but Fitz is white. And I'm like, I didn't get that.
Not in my mind.
No.
Yeah.
But that was an unusual thing because usually that is my default. But because of the way he was described in the book, that isn't what I saw. You know, I saw this swarthy skin and dark eyes, dark hair. And I was like, okay, I can see this. I'm picturing actors in my head. I'm like, okay, I know who could play that role. And yeah, it really surprised me when somebody said, but he's white.
Yeah, I saw him as white, but not like English, or I saw him more like as
No.
Greek or like
Oh, yeah,
Italian
that
or
sort of
something like
olive
that.
kind of,
Olive.
mm,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, something like
sort of
that.
Mediterranean.
Mediterranean kind of look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would
Mm-hmm.
work. That would work too.
Yeah, I think that would work.
Definitely. My thing
Yeah.
was because they make a point of contrasting the people of the duchies with the people from the mountains being very pale. And I'm like, okay,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
there is that difference, clearly.
Yes.
that they can look at someone and go, "You're from the mountains," because you're pale and sort of washed out looking. And so I'm
Yes.
like, okay, that suggests to me that everybody from the Duchies has a heartier complexion.
Yeah,
And,
that would
you
make
know,
sense.
yeah.
But
But
but I like the
so a TV
Latinx
show,
kind of vibe. I like
yeah,
that.
I just sort of,
Mm,
it felt,
mhm.
I don't know, what, just sort of,
I mean, it feels right. Mhm.
it did, it just felt right to me. So if they
Yeah,
made a TV show, then it could be a birthing ground for some actors who don't get as many opportunities to get that sort of meaty role, which
that's
I
a good
always think is
point.
great,
Yeah.
so, but, yeah, and yeah, Evie makes the
Okay.
point. This same goes
Yeah.
for, Paul Atreides and Dune, and there's a lot of, there are a lot of fantasy characters that if you think about it, nothing says that they're white, but the default tends to go, because it's fantasy, that they
Yes.
are. And unless an author goes out of their way,
Hmm.
that's the assumption.
That's
So,
very true. Hmm.
and that kind of comes back to one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you was how very welcome you are in the space, because it's so white. like I'm aware
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
I'm
You
like,
said it.
I'm a white 50-year-old woman. I am very aware that booktube is a very white place.
Yeah.
And we need to somehow change that. I can't. So when you showed up in my feeds, I was like, oh, look at this young man. Yes, 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 do more, do more.
No, I
Yeah.
appreciate you were one. Yeah, you were one of
Very
my biggest
exciting.
cheerleaders, Derry. No, I
Oh,
appreciate that.
it's important.
No,
It
it
is
is.
important. And I noticed it when I got over the age of 40 as a
Hmm.
woman. I became invisible to the world.
Hmm.
No TV shows had women my age, no
Right.
advertising had women my age,
Hmm.
and I suddenly understood properly what it was to not be represented. And I thought, oh my God, there are enormous parts of society that are never seen, are never represented. And that's not okay,
No.
because they're part of our society. We should be seeing them
Yes.
everywhere as we do in reality. So it was a very welcome thing, because it feels strange and inappropriate for just white people to be going, oh, well, we need to be more inclusive.
Yes.
It's not okay, for
No, it's
just white
not.
people to talk about that. But it's necessary and I want it. So when you did a video not long ago about your favorite characters of color, I was like, oh,
Hmm.
this is fabulous. But I also noticed you had to dig pretty deep for some of those. And that made me really sad.
I did,
So,
and that's also, partly
yeah.
my fault because clearly, like my default seems like I have an unconscious bias that I
Mm,
didn't recognize in reading. That my default seems to be like white heavy, settings
mm,
in novels, like white
yeah.
authors. But I realized like it's so much more out here that I wasn't introduced to. Like right now, I'm reading Jade Legacy, and
Nice.
and I'm like, these are authors of color that I would
Yeah.
not even know about if it wasn't for booktube.
Yeah.
And I recently got into Octavia Butler this year, and I didn't read
Hmm.
her before, and it's it's so much more out there, but it's just not
Yes.
promoted enough. Like outside of N.K. Jemisin, she's probably the most popular, I think, and that's just recent, last 2 years or so. That's not
That's right. Because
common. You
those
know.
books are reasonably recent. And I have to say, one of the booktubers who I think is invaluable in the space is Angela from um, the Literary Science Alliance. She
Mhm.
goes out of her way to find underrepresented parts of culture to bring
Wow.
those books to people's attention. And she did a review quite a long time ago now for a book called Sirens by Nevo. And
Hmm.
while I didn't then go and read Sirens, I did read the novellas from Nevo, and they blew me away. They were just beautiful. They just were so. It was musical almost. It was poetry for the soul.
Oh.
I was like, oh, this is the best things. This is so amazing. Blew my mind.
Now I want to read
So
it.
it was just gorgeous.
Mm.
And so it's important for people who are good at finding good stuff to show
Yes,
us, because we'll read it.
definitely.
You know,
Yeah.
we'll read it.
Yes, we will.
We
We
will
sure
add it to the
will.
TBR.
We sure
We
will.
will read it.
Yes.
You know, and I love that BookTube is starting to really step up the game, and that we're not just looking now at the inclusion of female authors. We're looking at inclusion of writers of color, writers of gender fluidity, writers of
Yes.
different, there's a real push to, okay, let's actually include everybody.
Yes. Yeah, because
And it's great.
it's wonderful because, as much as I love fantasy growing up, it's nice not to be in a world filled with, a bunch of bearded white guys,
Yeah.
So it's like Vonda Lee's, like in Jade Legacy, one of the main characters is gay. And I'm like, and I just could not believe that. I said, wow, that's
Yeah.
just something you would have never seen even probably 10 years ago or so in a major fantasy release.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I've recently been, well, I've recorded, I haven't edited. I've recorded a lot of
I can relate. Oh my
information
gosh.
about Mercedes Lackey's Valdemar books. And they're quite old.
Ooh.
She started writing those at the end of the 80s. And all of her books have at least secondary characters, named characters who interact with the main plot of not necessarily gender fluidity, because that wasn't a thing at the time, but who are living different lifestyles, who are either gay or polyamorous, or just living a different lifestyle as a normal thing. And then the second trilogy that's part of that world, which was written in 1989, 1991, the main character is a young gay man. And at the time, that was unheard of. Like, it was, nobody does that.
No.
So she became a real sort of icon, with the community. It's like, again, that representation. We're in these books. And without it being trumpeted, they're just there. They're people in the story who inhabit the world, because that's what the world looks like.
Exactly. And I love when the author does that.
Yeah. And I remember, I was still quite young. I remember reading them and thinking, how progressive am I? Because they weren't a thing. It wasn't a thing to have this as a main character and to have it be part of their character arc. I was like, wow, blew me away. And we've come a long way since then. We're getting far more of it, but it's still unusual, which is it's a thing.
Yeah. And you would think out of all the out of all the genres of literature, like fantasy would be the one that would be the most progressive. Yeah,
it really should.
Yeah, like you could just make up anything in fantasy. That's just all up to your imagination, and the fact
That's
that
right.
the default, still majority speaking is white is just insane. Because you can make people purple, green, yellow, orange. Just go for it.
That's exactly right. Just you can go. You can go as far as you like. And Thanel makes a great point here, actually, that there is a same-sex gay couple in Empire of the Vampire, and that is a relationship I adored reading. It was fantastic. And I'm a fan of Empire of the Vampire, I have to say. I don't know. Have you read it at all? Is it
I have
interesting
not
at all to you?
read Empire of the Vampire. It is, I've never read any vampire books. Like I love any show with vampire, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, my favorite show of all time. I love True Blood. Like anything with vampires.
Yeah.
But I haven't read any books, like any of Anne Wright's or nothing. So, which is kind of strange.
Okay.
Yeah, but I
there's a
need to.
few
Like
good
I
ones
would
around.
definitely read. Yeah. Yeah,
There's definitely a few
yeah.
good ones
Maybe
around.
that's something I'll do in Halloween. I'll read some vampire novels.
There's there'll be a lot being read, so there'll be plenty to choose.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
although Empire of the Vampire tends to be you either love it or you hate it, so it's always interesting
Okay.
for me to find out
No.
which side people land on, because
Well,
I
dear, you
definitely
have such great taste already, so I'm sure I'd love it.
I hate some people that I usually agree with very strongly. We have very differing opinions on Empire of the Vampire,
Yeah.
so
Well, I mean,
this
you're
could
talking to
go
a guy
either
who
way.
I actually liked Twilight, when I was younger. So
Awesome.
if it's
I
if
will
it's
admit, I have them. They're on
okay,
my shelf.
yeah,
I have
so
red flags galore, but I have them.
yeah, yeah, see, yeah, it is. So
Yeah.
I don't admit that to everybody, but I was a Twilight
And I
fan.
feel very flattered. But yes,
Yeah.
no, I was definitely a Twilight fan, but I was one of the kind of painful ones because I was a mother by then, and I fell into the Twilight mums group, and I was like, oh,
Oh
I don't know if I'm
man,
happy about being part of that crowd, but I am.
that's
Don't say I'm
awesome.
not, because I love it.
Yes,
But
yeah, it was. I mean, it's entertaining. So,
it was
so
entertaining.
I'll check out Empire of the Vampire.
I recommend. I really enjoyed it, but I found
Mm,
it entertaining.
okay.
Um, but what? Sorry, Matt. Empire. Sorry, Kiwi accent. I
Oh,
apologize.
Umpire of the
Yeah.
Vampire. That's nice.
Yes.
That is funny.
Empire of the Vampire
Empire of
has
the
nice people
Vampire.
in it. Empire of the Vampire is a very clever story that I'm
Mhm.
genuinely interested in. I was hanging out for
Okay.
book 2 immediately after reading the first one. When the second book came out, I had it on pre-order. It arrived on my Kindle. I read it in a day. And then I was like,
Wow.
okay, give me the next one. Give me the next one. And still waiting.
Okay.
But I very
That's
much enjoyed
exciting.
it. Yeah.
That's good to know. Now I'm intrigued.
But I think part of it is vampires, and thanks to the CW, who we were talking about earlier, have become
Right.
very romanticized. They're much softer in terms
They
of
are.
what they represent in culture. And Empire of the Vampire has brought them back to being they're actually monsters who do
Ooh.
horrible things. And I
Wow.
like
Okay.
that. I really like that. No, these are bad guys. These are the
Okay.
enemy. And yeah, I really enjoyed that.
I like the sound of that then. Okay, because vampires
Yeah.
typically are pretty evil. So
Well, and they're supposed to be. And of course, then
yeah.
we had that, decent chunk of time when actually, no, we're going to subvert that and they're going to be the anti-hero. And
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Yeah, I like them
And
vicious
everybody here
though.
is saying, Fever Dream. I know, Raph. I haven't actually read it. I'm ashamed to say.
Ooh, Fever Dream. Is that the Martin
That's the
book?
George R. R. Martin one. And I
Yeah,
should
okay.
read it. Jimmy has been singing its praises since I discovered his channel. And so I
Wow.
should read it. I really
I should
should
read
read
it
it.
too. Yeah. Maybe we could do a buddy read one day, Derry. Just
We
let's
should,
read.
because
Yeah.
everybody says it's fantastic. So I really should read it.
And he's a brilliant writer.
He really is. And he does horror so well. Oh,
Interesting.
he really, because have you read Fire and Blood? The
No,
history?
which
Okay.
is funny. I kind of like it's one of the few books I have on my shelf up there somewhere, and
Okay.
I've
Because
never
there
read
is a
it.
chapter in it. There is a chapter in it that is pure horror, start to finish, where
Interesting.
you're just like, oh,
Really? Oh,
yeah. It's just really horrific to read. But it was impressive because it fits the story everywhere. And it's just, he's so good at it.
he is.
So
He's too good.
yeah.
Okay,
But
there
so
you
yeah,
giving me
I
so
enjoyed
much.
Fire and Blood. I did Fire and
Okay.
Blood on audio. Simon Vance
Hmm.
does it. I really like Simon Vance.
He is
Um,
great.
so do you do much audio?
Actually, I do. I do quite a bit audio. Like,
Mhm.
I recently started Dungeon Crawler
So
Carl.
right.
I really,
I literally
yeah, yeah,
continue.
yeah. And because Brian recommended if you
Yeah.
doing the RPG, audiobook is the
Yeah.
best way to go. And totally that, I mean, oh my goodness, the production value on these audiobooks is
Oh my God.
insane.
So good,
Yes.
isn't it? Oh,
Yes. And I downloaded, I don't know if you heard the most recent Dune audiobook.
I
It's
haven't.
like that production value isn't it's crazy. Like they're taking audiobooks to another level now. It's like a
Yeah.
movie. Just you're listening to it isn't just, you're not
Mm.
seeing anything on the screen, but it's very much like film production.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm
And
enjoying
it runs the gamut. You can just get your basic narration from a really
Yes,
good narrator who
you
gets the
can.
voices and the tone, and it's wonderful to
Hmm.
listen to. And for that, you can't go past James Masters doing Dresden. And then you get like the full cast productions
Hmm.
of things,
Yes.
like the audio is doing Sandman.
Oh wow.
Who would have thought you could do Sandman? I mean, I don't know if you've read those comics. They
I
are
haven't.
pretty freaking trippy, and they've made it into this audio, and it's really good. Like
Wow.
it's atmospheric, and there's sound effect, and it's beautiful production.
Ooh,
So it's clearly part of the industry. People have realized needs to have this production value because people will spend the money on it.
they will.
So,
And I also love listening to memoirs when the person is a narrator who the book is about. Like I think that is like particularly special because
yes,
because like Michelle Obama's book, or like I
yeah.
love Viola Davis. I did hers this year, and there's
Actually,
an
I have that on
actress.
my TBR because of
Oh
your comments
yeah,
on that. I was like,
yeah,
oh,
that was
I must read that. That sounds
yeah.
amazing.
It
So
is. It is. And so I love that. Like it's interesting hearing someone kind of talk in your ear that's that you admire as a celebrity, and it's like you're just having a chit chat and they're just telling you their life story. So I think
yeah.
it's a great way to learn about anybody.
I'm sorry. I'm
Nice.
giggling at Raf. Raf having an opinion that doesn't go with the flow. What a shock.
Oh my God.
Raf, the more audiobooks turn cinematic, the more I get annoyed. Okay, that's
Interesting.
fair. That's
Fair
fair.
opinion. Yeah, because
AP
then it's
would
not
agree
really a
with you.
book. Yeah, it's not
Well,
really a book then, I guess.
I don't know if you're familiar with AP. He hasn't been posting very much recently.
Oh yeah.
AP is a critical dragon, and he has thoughts
Mm.
on audiobooks in that you have to acknowledge that they are an adaptation. You're getting somebody else's
Mm.
interpretation of the story. And I agree with him that yes, that's true. So I understand what
Mm.
Raf's saying here, that when they turn cinematic, you really aren't getting just the book. But
That's
sometimes
a
it
good
works.
point.
I mean,
Yeah,
Sandman, I think it's worked beautifully.
yeah.
But
Uh, oh, you haven't finished a Spear Cuts Through Water Dairy? What?
I'm really struggling
So we need to
hooking
stage an
into it.
intervention. Okay.
Look, I admit it's my fault. I do. It's a bit ephemeral for me. It's a bit.
That's
I
a great way to
can't get my
describe it.
brain into it and hang on to
Yeah.
it. And that I think is one of the side effects of my stroke many years ago. Is I really struggled with that for a long time, is being able to
Got you.
hang on to a story, and
Mm-hmm.
it just is right at the edge of what I'm capable of. So I
Get
have
it.
to do the work. Yeah.
I totally
Um,
understand.
do I want Evie's disappointed stare? Not at all. And if Evie looks at my Goodreads, she will see that I have picked up Winter Night and I'm rereading Bear and the Nightingale today. So,
Oh, well, she can give you
um,
credit for that.
yeah, I try really hard to stay in Evie's good books because she is the absolute angel of booktube. So I don't want to annoy Evie. No,
No,
not at
no
all.
one does. No.
No one wants to annoy Evie.
No.
So,
I haven't read The Vanished Birds. Now I do need to check that out. I have not read that yet.
yeah. I mean, I did read Vanished Birds and I actually really enjoyed it. I was looking forward to hearing Philip Chase gush about it. So when I went to see his review, and it wasn't so much a gush as a, okay, this had things to say, and he got very deep about it. And I was like, where's the gushing, Phil? Where
Yeah.
is it? And there was no gushing. And I was like, did we read the same book? because I
Interesting.
truly enjoyed it. I found it. He seemed to find it very somber, very thought provoking, very almost grim to hear him
Hmm.
describe it, and I thought it was just beautiful. And I was like,
Mm.
we got
I
very different
wonder.
things out of that story.
I wonder if his opinion would have been different if he read it by himself as opposed to with as a buddy read when you're hearing other people's opinions while reading it. I don't know. And sometimes that can influence, I think, maybe the way you think of a book. Sometimes 'cause I think he read it with Brian and Mike and
Yeah,
John. Yeah.
yeah, and
So
Mike was
then
quite vocal about not
he
enjoying it.
was. He was.
Then again, hey, I have my issues with Mike and his views on books because he was very complainy about Farseer.
Really?
Very complainy. I had to
That's
have
not
words.
allowed.
I,
Yeah, that's not
I, I did.
allowed.
I had to have words.
No.
and
No
he
farsier,
continued, and
Slender.
he continued, and he's getting there. So,
Gosh, I
but
just love
no,
that series. You made me want to go reread it, Derry.
good.
I don't know,
It should
some of
be
the other
reread.
ones.
It's an
Yeah.
amazing reread. It really is. The value. I mean, you were saying earlier about rewatching TV shows,
Hmm.
re-experiencing a form of media allows you to notice other things.
It
You
does,
know, it's
totally.
where you can notice if you're watching a film or if you're watching a TV show, you can notice clever things the director's done or clever things the lighting people have done to highlight something. The same goes in books. The second time around, you're not looking at the main thing. You're
Hmm.
able to see all of the other things that are going into it. And there is so much in Realm
It
of the
is.
Elderlings.
It
It's
is.
crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Can't even imagine.
no, you're not being irrational with that, Evie. That's feel like you're being personally attacked when people don't like Fitz.
Yeah,
Because,
I
like
love
me, you
Fitz. I mean,
identify with him so closely.
yeah.
And you feel like they don't like your cat. Matt, well, that might be because you called your cat Fitz. Just
Which is
saying.
an adorable name.
It
Adorable
is.
name.
And there's a few of them around in BookTube, which is nice.
Yeah, it is.
It's rather wonderful, actually. All of the names that people have named their pets in BookTube. Trying to find
It's
the
great.
little odd ones. But the identifying with characters in books, it does get very personal because part of
It does.
reading is you imbue it with your own history and your own story. So when you
Hmm.
love a book, it's genuinely part of who you are
It
because you've
is.
helped form that bond with it with your own
Yes.
experiences. So when someone doesn't like it, it does feel like an attack, which
Yes.
is
I'm
odd.
like, yeah, that's how I am with Harry Potter. If someone doesn't
Mm,
like Harry Potter, I'm like, I can no longer communicate with you. Like, you no longer exist.
yeah.
Like,
These are like people say, oh, well, I tried to get this person to read this and they didn't like it. And I'm like, so why are you friends with them? Yeah.
exactly,
Like
yes.
these are key elements of my personality.
Exactly.
And
Like,
and, and they
you
don't
know,
like it.
no.
We
Like, this is
clearly
the
have
crux of
issues.
what I am. Yeah. That
Clearly,
is me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're a Harry Potter fan, what house are you in, Darko?
Slytherin through and through.
Oh yeah?
And yeah, and it's funny, like even before I took the exam on
Yeah.
Pottermore to like put you in a house, I always identified with Slytherin because I thought they had because I'm always like the easy way out. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like work smarter, not harder. And Slytherin, like no matter who was the headmaster, no matter who was in charge, they had it made. You know, so that was always the best house to be in because they were always protected. So like, yeah, I want to be Slytherin.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Ah. Now, I fell into Ravenclaw very definitely, but with
Mm.
a high percentage of Slytherin. I was like,
Yes.
okay. I managed to avoid evil genius but maybe I should
Just
watch
a
for
little
those
close.
tendencies.
Ravenclaw is a
So
great house too. I mean, I love all of the houses.
I think I mean, I for a long time defend I've defended Harry Potter to adults reading it because I
Mhm.
think there's a lot of value in them as books. Yes, they've been under a spotlight in the last several years because of
Mhm.
J.K. Rowling, but that initial book series before she started spouting rubbish
Yeah,
on Twitter,
nonsense.
and before
Yeah,
the play, and before the extended films, they were great. Like,
they were.
they actually were great.
They were.
Um, and I had quite a funny story with Harry Potter. I didn't know anything about it because I'm
Hmm.
a bit old for Harry Potter. So
Yeah.
the first time I heard of Harry Potter, it was on the news, and they were talking about the fact that bookshops in London had queues around the block waiting
Mm.
for the release of the Prisoner of Azkaban. No,
Okay.
no, no, the Goblet of Fire was the one,
Oh yeah, that was
and
huge. Mhm.
and I was like, what is wrong with these people? The book is going to be there tomorrow, and then I heard myself say it, and I went, hang on, I haven't read them. They might be that good.
Mhm.
So I went out that weekend and I bought the first three,
Okay.
and then I bought Goblet of Fire, and I was in the
Mhm.
queue for all of the rest of them because they,
Mm.
as far as I was concerned, yes, they were that good.
They
And
were.
and it was odd because I was very definitely the oldest person in these queues in terms of who the book was for, because
Mm.
obviously lots of adults in the queue, but because they're shepherding children. I didn't have my children with me in those queues. I was there for myself.
Yeah, we're young at heart.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
I just thought it had a lot of really good things to say. A lot of YA stories, they all share those same tropes, don't they?
Mm.
The isolated child, the child who's ostracized, bullied, lonely,
Yeah.
whatever, who's
Yeah. Has a
different.
tragedy early
Yeah.
in life. Mhm.
And what I liked about Harry Potter was that to succeed, he actually had to work hard. Like, he always had to do
Yes,
extra study. He always
he
had to
did.
learn something extra. And I just liked that it didn't just fall into his lap. He usually had to do quite a lot of work. And
And that's what I
I
liked
just
about him
really
too.
liked that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
He was
yeah,
he was pretty regular, and
yeah,
honestly, it was kind of sheer luck that he even became quote unquote the chosen one. Because
yeah.
anyone who read, that Neville
You
had
know that
also an
Neville
equal
could have been.
chance. Yeah, it
Yeah,
could have also been, so
I loved Neville. Even
I do.
before
I
the
love
movies
him.
happened, I was like, I
Yeah,
love
I do.
Neville.
I
I
love
will
Neville
defend
too.
Neville with my life.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
that young man who played him, I can't think of his name. He did such a wonderful job, and
He
the glow up
did.
on that boy is like, woo!
I know. I was like, wow,
I
he
mean,
aged better than all of them. And I
it
mean,
really
out of all the
did.
guys anyway. Yeah.
He really
Yes.
did. I was like,
He did,
woo!
yeah.
Look at Neville. Who knew that was
Yes.
in the cards? But
Yes.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, that character again, I love that he got rewarded for standing up to his friends.
Yes.
I just like those
Yes.
little changes from what we normally see in YA, and I those things are valuable.
They are.
That's
And
just
then
me getting.
I mean, and the later books got pretty dark, like when
Oh
you talked
yes.
about Voldemort's origin story and the
Mhm.
incestuousness and all, like I'm like that's that's stuff they didn't explore in the movies, but
No, they
like
didn't. And
yeah.
the love spell to trap his father,
Yeah.
and you know the reason for his mother and he being shunned, and like
Yes.
there's some
Yeah.
really dark things there.
Yeah.
Bullying again, generational
Yeah.
trauma. There's a lot in
Yeah.
them,
It
and
is.
it's not um, what's the word I want? It's not preachy. It could
It
be.
isn't.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it
it comes
isn't.
close sometimes, but
Yeah.
it manages
Yeah.
to fall in that this is just what you need to know for the story.
Yep.
But no, I did really enjoy Harry Potter, and I'm happy to say that both my kids read it before they were 9. They were like, "Yeah, I'm reading this." Boom,
Yeah.
done. So I'm like, "Yep, good,
Oh,
excellent, off
yeah.
to a good start."
Yeah.
But
That's I don't know if you know how that's how she got published. It's like one of the person who published it or greenlighted it let his daughter read
Yes.
the first book. Yep.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, yep. And I think that's awesome.
I actually love too that the Stephen Fry audiobooks, I think they're fantastic.
I
And
haven't
there's
listened
a
to those.
wonderful little story about him in the very first book having an issue with the sentence, and he pocketed it. And
Mm,
he's called J.K. Rowling and said, I'm really struggling with this line. Can I say it differently than the text? And she's gone, no, you read it how it's
yeah.
written. And then
Hmm.
she included it in every book, the sentence, and then
Oh,
he pocketed it. And I just think that was really funny.
that
And
is
Stephen
funny. That's
Fry
hilarious.
finds he includes that when he talks about his experience recording the book. But
Interesting.
and
She's
he's
very
another one who's
protective. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I wish she was with her own brain. Like,
And tell me
honey,
about
leave
it.
it
I'm like, I
alone.
don't know. Yes, drop it. It's done. Yeah.
Just walk away. Just leave it alone.
Yeah. Yeah, that
But
is
no.
definitely having to separate the art from the artist for that one right
Oh
there.
yeah,
Mhm.
in a big
Yeah.
way. In
Yeah.
fact, I've been struggling with that a bit lately with the allegations against Neil Gaiman,
Oh, I
because I
know.
just
Oh
think
my
he's marvelous.
gosh.
And when I heard
Yeah.
about the allegations, I was like,
No.
no.
Yeah, it's like no way.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to comment either way on what's happening
Yeah.
in his life, but I really don't like having to consider that when I want to read
Yeah.
something he's written, because I
It's
do enjoy
tough.
him as an author.
Yeah, because I love
So,
Arthur Scott Card. Like Ender's Game is one of my favorite
yeah,
books of all time, and
Marion Zimmer
you
Bradley,
rest.
another one.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
H.P. Lovecraft, he was an
Yes.
awful
Mm.
person,
Yeah.
and yet his works form one of the pillars for science fiction and fantasy.
Yeah.
Who hasn't heard of Cthulhu,
Exactly.
even if they've never read Lovecraft?
Yeah. Yeah. You know Cthulhu.
You know
Everyone.
Cthulhu.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily nice people created
I
these
know.
things.
And
So
it's
it's a bit
terrible.
worrying.
It is.
It's like, did nice people just not create stuff?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know. And I go through that with music, and like because I was a fan of R. Kelly. And then
Yeah.
when everything
Yeah,
about
that was
him came, I'm like,
nasty.
oh, it's like, yeah, that
Like,
was just, it's
can I not
unbelievable.
just like someone? Yeah.
Exactly. Why do you have to disappoint me?
That's exactly it. It's like, why do you have to hurt me like this?
Yes.
So
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
I hear you. I do.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a tragedy. Actually, I hear myself say that. I'm very sorry, Philip. You are a lovely person.
Mm.
Philip Chase obviously is a lovely person who we
He
all
is,
think very
totally.
highly of.
We do.
I've only read the first book of his trilogy, and there are some dark things in there. There is some stuff going on in his head.
That's what I heard. People like it could get pretty vulgar and profane. I'm like, from Dr. Chase?
I know, right?
What?
I was like, oh, okay. Oh, this is where all of his nasty vitriolness has bubbled into, and he's just spat it into his book.
Yeah,
Like,
he's found
get
a
it out
healthy
of
way
me.
to channel it, which
Yeah.
is yeah.
It's like, who knew? It really shocked me a couple of times reading that. I was like,
Yeah.
Philip.
Yeah, that's definitely on my list for next month.
I have to admit, I am waiting now for the audios because
Oh yeah, because
Alan has finished
he's gonna
recording.
kill
So
it. Really?
he's finished
Oh,
recording the first
I
one,
didn't know
so we're
that.
waiting now
Okay.
for edit and
Oh,
getting it all
cool.
sorted.
Okay.
So I'm very excited for that.
Oh yeah. That would make a good immersive reading experience, I think.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Alan is incredibly talented. He's unfortunately taken it down, but he did for a little while have on his channel a performance he did of a one-man show of the Iliad, and
Oh.
it was astonishingly brilliant. It literally it gave me chills. It was so incredible.
Oh man.
And I was like, wow, he really is a talented man in terms of imbuing a performance. So I am very much looking forward. Or what's the hearing equivalent of that? Looking forward. I'm looking forward to listening. That seems like a strange sentence.
Yeah. Forward. Well, it works. That's English. English is a strange language.
Oh, it's the strangest in the world. Terry Pratchett said
Yes.
once that English, it doesn't borrow from other languages. It mugs them in alleyways and rummages through its clothes for loose grammar.
That's
And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of true.
that's hilarious. I had a linguist professor. He said that English was, he said it was the easiest language to learn. Oh no, the easiest language to speak, but the hardest to learn.
Hardest to learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't follow any rules
anything
that are consistent. There's nothing
Yeah.
consistent. And I mean, it's difficult. I mean, I consider myself reasonably well spoken. I've got pretty good vocabulary, and I still hear myself sometimes, and I think that was a terrible sentence.
Yes.
How could I have said that differently? And
Yeah.
really struggling to make it flow better because it's just an awkward sentence. And
Yeah.
it's very strange.
It is.
Very strange language.
So many words with so many different meanings to one word, and homonyms and all of metronyms and all
The beauty of it, though, is when we get somebody like AP doing a close reading of a prologue or an opening chapter, and how rich a paragraph can be because of all of the nuances and because of all of these different meanings. And I was like, oh, love listening to AP talk about things.
Guy Gabriel Kay is great at opening paragraphs. Like, I've only read 2 of his books so far, but like his openings always grab me immediately, like within the first few words. Like, it's amazing how much he says in just a few words.
Because I've only read the trilogy that nobody likes of Guy Gabriel Kay. Really? I've read the Fine Art Tapestry, and I love it. Like, it's one of my favorites, and that's another audio narrated by Simon Vance. Just
nice.
As a random aside. And that was my first experience with Simon Vance. And I really enjoyed it. I think I know on my Goodreads review I included the sentence, it feels like getting into a warm bath. It just feels comforting and familiar.
Yes.
The themes and all of the tropes. It just like I know this story. Even though I didn't know the story until I read it, obviously, but it just felt comfortable. It's like, no, I understand this story. I know what it's doing. It wasn't a challenging story necessarily. Parts of it were hard to read because of emotional, resonance, but the fact that people consider that his weakest work makes the rest of his work a little daunting to me. Because I really love that.
I have to read it, and I love tropes, but like prose is always important to me. Like, I just love someone who writes well. It
might be worth Jake Bishop read them. You might be worth looking at his review, because I have nostalgia coloring my love of that trilogy, because I've read it for so long, whereas Jake has got younger, fresher eyes. And
okay. And I always appreciate
so
his
I believe
reviews.
him when he says it's the weakest, because he's an incredible young man. It just, as I say, makes the rest of them a bit daunting to me.
Yes. Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I will be trying other Guy Gabriel Kay at some point.
Yeah, you should.
Soonish.
Yeah.
Because again, I do trust Jake. And I should on that.
Because he got me into Verkozigan, which I'm enjoying. I've read 2 books in the series so far, and I think it's very fun. And Behold is another great writer, which is rare in science fiction. Many like science fiction writers aren't always great with prose.
No,
they're all about themes and the science and all that. But she's great.
Sorry, that stammer. That's the generalization, isn't it? That science fiction is ideas rather than story or character. But
exactly.
I have to say I've read a reasonable amount of entertaining science fiction that had a solid story and had great ideas, but still had characters but yeah, it does tend to be apparently an unusual thing.
Yeah, it is. Christopher Rocky. I don't know if you read his Sun Eater series at all.
So many people want me to read Sun Eater. I have to.
Hmm.
But when I get round to it, it will be very much like when I finally read Persuasion last week. My Goodreads review is going to be an apology to everybody for
Hmm.
having taken me so long to get to it. Because
Yeah,
so many people are telling me I'm going to love it.
yeah, you are. And I've only read the first two books,
Yeah.
and I figured I'll wait because I think the last book comes out in like April of next year or something like that. So I figured I'll just
Wow.
wait till the last book and reread
Yeah.
the first two and finish the series.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I mean, seriously, I don't think there's a person who's read the series that I interact with regularly who hasn't said to me, "You have to read this." So,
Yeah, it's
and
one
like
of
with
the
that kind of emphasis, like,
yeah. Yeah, you
okay,
do. Yeah, it's one of
I
the
will, I will, I
only
promise.
novels, or only series I read where I wanted to like as soon as I finished the second book, I wanted to go back and reread it again. Yeah.
Nice. That I tell you
Hmm.
what, that is the books that I love. That's the feeling I get at the end of them. I just
Hmm.
want to read it again straight away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've allowed myself to do that this year. When I first came onto
Interesting.
booktube, I was like, new booktubers can all agree the pressure
Hmm.
to just read something new and not reread because you could be
Hmm.
reading something new. I really struggled with that because part of my thing is after the stroke, reading new things was difficult. I still have to
I
work really hard.
can
So
understand.
rereads are my comfort.
Hmm.
But I have been able to start reading new things. And I just sort of said to myself a year or so ago, do you know what? My channel. I'm allowed to reread. I'm totally
Exactly.
rereading. And so
Yes.
I did. And I tell you what, I've done that this last couple of weeks with Dungeon Crawler Carl. I've listened
Oh,
to each of the 6 books twice in the last couple of weeks because they're bloody
oh
brilliant.
man, they are. They are.
I have
And I
had
love the
so much fun.
narrator.
I
And
have
it's
had so
I heard
much
that
fun.
apparently Patrick Warburton makes a appearance later on.
Yes, in the 6th
Yeah,
one.
because
Yeah.
when I first heard the guy, he kind of reminded me of Patrick Warburton, the narrator.
Oh, okay.
Like especially when he played Tick, like he kind of
Yeah.
reminded me of him. So it's interesting that he makes an appearance later.
Yeah. And Travis Baldry as well, who's the author of Legends and Lattes. Who's how it's the association that will never go away for me because
Hmm.
he emerged into my awareness at the same time as his book. So I was like, oh, okay, those two facts go together.
I need to
And
read Legends and Lattes as well. I need to read. That's one I
it's
have not
very,
read
it's
yet.
very nice. The
Hmm.
the tagline is right. It's a low
Hmm.
stakes fantasy.
Hmm.
It's literally opening a coffee shop.
And sometimes I like that's one of the things I like
Really
about
not.
Realm of the
You need to
Elderlings.
have good snacks for
Mm.
Legends and Lattes. You really do. You need to have yummy things to eat when you're reading
Yeah.
that because it will make you hungry for yummy things.
Yeah, it sounds like a very winter read, like sitting by the fireplace or something with like hot cocoa and like the way, at least from what people say about it, that's what I get, the vibe I get.
That title doesn't appeal to me at all. What are the books about, dearie? Are we talking Dungeon Crawler Carl?
Or Legends
I'm
and
gonna
Lattes.
with Shadia, I'm gonna guess Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Hmm.
They are pretty much what they sound like. They
Yeah.
they are a genre I don't usually read. There you go, yes. I don't
Hmm.
read lit RPG. I'm not a gamer, so a lot of the terminology and what are clearly gaming in jokes go right over my head.
Hmm.
But the characters in this story are fantastic. The developing plot that I'm getting now that I'm sort of about a third of the way through what I think will be the overall arc, is
Hmm.
really starting to get serious and quite in depth and lots of threads going on. But mostly I laughed out loud so much listening to those first couple of books.
Yeah.
Honest to
Yeah,
God, that
it's
made me laugh.
hilarious. It is
Oh,
hilarious. And I don't laugh out loud at books often. I'll chuckle, but
yeah.
like Dungeon Crawler Crawl will leave you in hysterics sometimes.
Oh,
It
yeah.
just
Like
does.
I'm talking belly laughing
Yeah, it will.
at the just random
It will.
things that'll be like, ha, ha. Yeah. I mean, you have a talking cat, and
Exactly.
Matt Dinnerman has clearly had a cat in his life. because that's how I
Definitely.
imagine
I mean,
cats
oh my gosh.
would talk.
Yeah, I was like, this is Blanche. I said, like, if Blanche could talk, my cat Blanche,
Yes,
she would. This is her right here. Yes.
it's very, very, very funny. And as I say, it does develop into some deeper kind of story themes as you go in. And to the point where the fifth and sixth books both had me bawling at points, like snotty crying at points, because very emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have things to look forward to. Evie's
Yes.
asking me, oh, any new
No,
sneakers?
yes.
I need to do some unboxing. Yeah, I bought these real crazy boots, and this rapper, he came out with these crazy looking boots that were like, and it took him like 2 months to get to my home because they were on back order because they were such high demand. But they look absolutely insane. I don't know where I'm going to wear them or when, but I just had to have them in my collection. And they come with like a little rubber ducky, which I think is adorable.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, they're big and yellow, like, I don't know, like cartoon boots or something. But yeah, those are probably the latest find or the latest purchase for me that I'm excited about, like unboxing and eventually wearing, because they're like they just make a statement. And
Yep, statement
yeah.
piece, definitely.
Yes, yeah. Hmm.
But things like
No.
that, those things that bring joy,
Yes.
they're worth making an outfit around, because you're like,
Yes,
no,
they
I
are.
love these. I'm wearing
Yes.
them.
Yes. Yes. Yes,
So,
yes, they do. And that's one thing I just love about like crazy sneakers in particular, because they bring so much attention to your feet, and they make conversation. I
they
mean,
do.
like I went to the beach in the summertime, and I have these Simpson Adidas.
Okay.
And they're the clouds on the Simpsons. They're the color of the clouds on the
Mm-hmm.
Simpsons, and they're pretty odd looking. And like everywhere I went, like people were stopping me. When I was standing in line somewhere, could hear people like behind me like talking about it. And I just yes, yes, and that's why I love sneakers. I just love that kind of reaction when I wear a pair of shoes. Like it gives me so much joy in life.
Well, that makes me feel very happy, because I have, a few years ago now, I have spoken to a young man while we were waiting for a pedestrian crossing, and I've just gone, I know you don't care about my opinion, but those are some fucking amazing shoes. And he was just like, oh, thanks. Because they were just so cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
They
by
were
the way,
awesome.
Derry, I loved the thumbnail you did. I mean, with the sneaker, that was awesome.
I thought, because I'm not a sneakers person, and because
Mhm.
who were you talking to? Brian, I think. You were comparing sneakers. He was showing you new shoes, and you were going, And I
Oh
was like, oh,
yeah.
they actually looked really comfy. And I thought, okay, I clearly am not a cool person. And then when you said you'd come and talk to me, I was like, I know exactly what I'm putting on that thumbnail. And there's
Yes,
going to
it
be a
was.
pair of granny slippers
No.
against his cool shoes, because
No, but it's
I
cool.
literally
But
am
Derry,
wearing
you are
slippers.
cool. Yeah. See, Derry, you are cool though. Like I love that shirt you have on right now. Like you,
Oh, thank you.
like I think everybody has their own sense of style, like debate, and makes it work.
It's like I said, you find something that you love, and you just got to
Hmm.
do it. Um,
Yes, you do.
it was brought home to me a long time ago with two different pairs of shoes. Shoes apparently are the theme of the day, and
Mhm.
one of them was this electric blue pair of fake suede ankle boots that were very 80s. They had tassels around the top. They're very 80s, and I just loved them. I was like, I have to have them. I just have to have them.
They sound
And I
great.
bought them on a whim. And then roughly the same time, there was a pair of boots that I was like, they would go with everything I've got. They would work for my work. I could wear them out. They would be great. Saved up, put them on lay-by, spent a lot of money on them. I wore them one time. But those
Oh,
cheap electric blue tasseled boots, they were like $20. I wore
man.
those things so much because I
Wow.
loved them.
I
It's like,
see
I
you
just
never know.
loved them.
Yeah, you can't
You
put a
know,
price on enjoyment. You can't.
no, you really
You
can't.
never know.
You just don't. And yeah, it's part of it. As I made because one of my mental health issues is depression.
Mm.
And quite early on in my journey with that, I noticed when I was doing my laundry that everything was black. And I was like, that's kind of depressing in itself, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a promise to myself that I would actively try not to buy black things, clothes,
Oh, good. Okay.
Shoes, whatever, accessories. Try not to buy black. And my wardrobe has clearly taken a turn into plums and blues, and I love them so much. But every now and then I'll go a bit crazy, and I did the other week, and I have a very pink shirt. It's very pink, and it has lines across it, and on the lines are silhouettes of cats.
Oh, that's adorable.
It's the craziest looking shirt, and I love it. I love it so much.
You have got to
and
wear
I
that
get
one
compliments on it when I wear
Yeah.
it. People are like, I love your shirt. So it's great.
No, it's great.
You
No, I
have
think
to
it's
be
always.
yourself.
Yeah, you do. I mean, and the best way to express yourself, at least out in the world, is through the way you dress. Like gives people kind of like an instant idea of like the kind of person you are, like how you dress. So yeah. And
Do you
cats.
have any sort of fandom clothing that you've worn and had people comment to you on? Like if Marvel, obviously, or DC, or
Marvel, definitely.
yeah.
Like I have this like Target here. They did a line of Marvel hoodies and the characters, but they were artist depictions of African American artists, like how African American artists depicted them. And so they were like all like drawn really cool on the hoodie. Yeah, and so I got like a lot of compliments on those because no one knew. And people were like, Target, you got that from? Because people probably thought I got it from some boutique or something, but it was right in Target. It's like for Black History Month.
But that's the sort of thing you got to support and go, hey, if you're going to do something this cool, then absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. What I have a lot of stuff like that, like Marvel and DC and shirts and hoodies. Yeah.
Is there one that you've had to stop wearing because you're going to wear it out?
That's a good question. Like I have so many. Like I'm a clothes hoarder, so I have like so many clothes that it's rare that I wear anything out because like I'll donate it to charity. Like if I feel like I might wear it out, I'll donate it to charity because I don't want to donate anything worn out to charity. Yes. So but I do have some T-shirts like that though.
Yeah, because I have a Doctor Who hoodie that I've started to kind of go, I probably should stop wearing this. It's actually getting quite faded and the embroidery's starting to go. I probably need to stop wearing it, but I'm not going to. I mean, I should. I'm not going to.
No,
because I like it. But it opens conversations, and it opens conversations with people you're going to get on with because
that's true.
They've looked at you and gone, you love the thing. I love the thing. Let's talk about the thing.
Yes.
Over the top, loud clothing that goes, I like the thing.
Yes.
Fabulous.
Yes,
it's so great.
And I have not watched Doctor Who. That's one show that I really do need to
British.
watch.
It's very, very British. So Jake might enjoy it.
he probably will.
But it is very British. And I mean, I was born in the UK and met my first Doctor as a small child in the UK, and it was Tom Baker in Classic Who. So New Who was kind of a guarantee for me. I was like, oh, Doctor Who's back. So fan of Doctor Who. It's a bit like Shaun of the Dead in that some of it can be really scary and other parts of it are just really silly. And they go together sometimes.
Interesting. Okay.
And there's when New Who first began again with Christopher Eccleston, one of the villains that they brought in was very childish. It was very much a rubber
Interesting.
suit, fart noises. It was
Oh my gosh.
very cheesy, but it was a very deliberate nod to the fact that classic Who had no budget, and all of their bad guys were just in just cheap looking rubber suits and with rubbish sound effects. But that was kind of what it was. That's just what it was. So
Yeah.
when they included that in New Who, it was great. I was like,
Oh,
they get it. Okay, they get it.
Okay.
And then they brought in new bad guys who were really fucking scary. And yeah. So
yeah, because my husband, he's a huge Star Trek guy. That's its thing. And he often comments on how much the special effects have progressed from the original Star Trek to like Discovery, you know, and how like it's just been phenomenal for him to kind of witness that. Even the Next Generation is his favorite. He even got me watching it. Like I binge watched it last year, and it was a great show. But
it was
it's hard
very
for me
much
to
a
get
product
into.
of its time.
Yes, it is. Sometimes I'm like, some of them episodes are, yeah,
a bit cringy now to go back and revisit.
Yes, yeah, it is. Especially as a first time watcher. It is. Some
Yeah.
of it is amazing, very intellectual. Yeah,
and thought provoking.
Yes,
where they really want you to think about what is right versus what is lawful versus what is moral, because those three things are different, and
they are
sometimes are completely contradictory. Where do you stand? Why do you stand there? Should you be standing there?
Yep.
And Trek did that really well. I mean, that was kind of the point of Trek to some degree.
Yes, it did.
And yeah, they did do that really well.
Yeah, and apparently that was the Next Generation was the actual show that Gene Roddenberry wanted to make in the first place, but like that was like the original.
He wanted for a long time to come back with the show, and you can see in the first few seasons the real fight over creative control, where some of the cringiest episodes were ones that Gene wanted to tell, and the more progressive ones were the ones that the new showrunners wanted to go with. And you can see him being kind of could you just not?
Yes.
As they sort of quietly angle him out of the writer's room, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've watched Battlestar Galactica.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But Ronald D. Moore, the showrunner, was involved in later Next Generation, and he was one of the main writers for DS9. And for him, Battlestar Galactica was an extension of what he wanted DS9 to be. Much more gritty, much more realistic in terms of interaction between characters. And he's been quite vocal about the difficulties he had with writers and writing in the Trek universe, and being very limited in what stories he could tell, and because there's no boundaries in Battlestar Galactica.
No, it's not.
they touch on some really heavy stuff.
Yeah,
in Battlestar.
It's a phenomenal show.
Oh, it really is.
But
I'm actually watching.
I didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah. He was. He might have been their head writer for the last season of DS9.
Okay.
But he was a big part, a very big part of the way that DS9 went. Okay. And I'm actually watching a group of young men reacting to Battlestar Galactica at the moment. They're called 732 Review Crew. And there's 3 young men watching it, and it's bloody brilliant, because the discussions the 3 of them are having after the episodes are really in depth. Like, they're talking about what they're trying to say about war, and what are they trying to say about differing religions, and what are they trying to say about these relationships between people. And they're pointing out things that I didn't see when I watched it the first time. They're going, this is really toxic, this is really unhealthy, and why would they be doing? And I'm really enjoying these young men with a generation removed from me, at least one
Mhm.
generation removed from me, and a different viewpoint on the stories that I just took for granted as a
Yeah.
young woman.
Wow.
That I was like, yep, this is just the story as it's unfolding. To have some young people who have, done a film course and have some knowledge about the way TV shows are made and why they do certain things, watching BSG and having opinions and voicing their thoughts on it has sort of made me go, "Oh, wow, okay, I'm learning that today."
Oh,
And it's
interesting.
great. I'm
Okay.
really enjoying it. For the most part, I watch reactors because I just like the shows and I want to see other people like the shows. And but I'm really enjoying their journey through BSG. They've nearly finished. They're about halfway through season 4, and the conversations after the shows are getting insane.
I bet. I
They
have to
are
check them out
losing
the
their
next
minds.
time. Yeah,
So
my next
yeah.
binge of Battlestar Galactica, I have to use that to kind of complement my binge. Use
Oh
their
yeah.
commentary. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Because
Yeah.
there are shows I binge. I mean, Supernatural I binge, BSG I binge, Firefly I binge.
Firefly, yeah.
I mean, you have to, and
Yeah.
and
Yes.
it's always comforting, and in the same
Mhm.
way as I find with Robin Hobb, with my constant rereading, I tell
Mhm.
myself it keeps my benchmark high.
Yes.
I'm constantly reminding myself how good it can
Okay.
be, and so
Yes.
I'll watch Firefly and then go, see, other TV shows just aren't this good.
No, they're not.
And
They're not. Yeah, I'm trying
so,
hard not to reread Harry Potter, right? Because I want to go back
hey,
and it
I will
just
never
keeps
tell you
calling.
not to.
Yeah, I love that series. I can never get enough of
Mm,
it. I never get bored with it, no matter how old I get. I just
nice.
still enjoy
Well, I
it.
can recommend Stephen Fry's audio versions because
That may
he's
be
just
the
very
next
British,
thing.
and so
Yes.
it works. He
Yes.
understands where the emphasis needs to be for it to be a very British story. And
Awesome. Okay.
yeah, I enjoy Stephen Fry narrating, just full stop. So, that's always a thing. But what was I going to say then? I was going to say
I'm
Harry
sorry, I
Potter.
just interrupted you.
Oh no, I'm the worst
Mm.
for it. I actually I'm considering sending people who I'm bringing on to talk to me, or if I'm going on their channel, I'm going to send them something to print out on so they can put it on a card and just go, shut up at me when I've interrupted them,
No.
because I'm terrible for it. I
Oh,
watch
it's
myself
fine.
back and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't let that person talk at all. Oh,
But I think a
terrible.
lot of times we're just our own worst critic, because
But but yeah, reread, always reread. I mean,
yeah.
you can't go wrong. I mean, that's what I was going to say is I don't even count them in my Goodreads, but I almost
Hmm.
always have one of the Discworld books on audio. I just always have one on audio, and I'll listen to it for half an
Hmm.
hour as I go to sleep or whatever, because I know them really, really well. I can go
Hmm.
to sleep because I know what's
Hmm.
about to happen and I can just sort of drift off the story. So Stephen Fry's voice, great for that. Absolutely great for that.
Perfect. Okay.
And then it doesn't interfere with your reading time, you know.
No, it
It's
doesn't.
more just kind of zenning out time.
That's a good
So
idea. I should do that with Harry Potter. I can just kind of zone out.
yeah,
Yeah.
it,
Hmm.
it I the Discworld books have been re-recorded in the last couple of years because the early Discworld books, they're pretty old, and the audio was very poor production value.
Hmm.
And they've recently redone them, and I've bought quite a lot of them because that's just what you do when you love things. You buy
Yeah,
multiple
you do.
versions of them
Oh my God, tell me about it. Since how much money I've spent on Harry Potter books, like just
that you
different
already have.
versions.
Yeah,
I already have. It's so
absolutely.
insane.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have I don't know how you keep track of your own books or your TBR. I have a spreadsheet and
Mm.
I have columns, and you can tell my favorites because all 3 columns have check marks of physical audio ebook. And
Okay.
it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I have every version of this.
Yeah.
Terry Pratchett has often multiple versions of multiple versions, so that I might have 2 or 3 copies of a physical book. I might have, and I do have several different audio versions of a book. Like I have the original version of Guards, I have the new version of Guards, I have the play version of Guards, I have the radio adaptation of Guards. So I'm a bit of a fan, you could say.
Clear, just a little bit.
Yeah. What happens when I start to love things? And we talked about Jake earlier, and he got me past the hump into enjoying Dresden, which I now adore. And again, I have all of them on ebook. I have almost all of them on audio. I only have the short stories to get on audio, because when I want to read them, depending on where I am and what time of day it is, I want to be able to read them. So if I'm doing housework, then I need the audiobook. If I'm on the bus, I need my e-reader.
Yeah.
So I need both versions.
No, a lot of my, I do have, like a lot of my fantasy books, I do have both like Kindle, some on hard, like Name of the Wind, I have all 3 versions, because that's one of my favorite fantasy. And I have like multiple, because he's released, special editions and all, so I have all that. And I do have Kindle, hardback, and audio, because I'm just like you. Sometimes I'm in the mood to read something right at that moment, and I need it accessible. So I totally get that.
It's like, no, I want to read it now. I don't want to think about it and read it later. I'm thinking about it now. I want to have it now.
Yeah, because I might not have time later, or I might get in the middle of something and forget that I was in the mood to. Exactly. Or why I wanted to, Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I think only book readers will find that funny. I'm going to forget I wanted to read it.
Clearly an inside joke. Yeah.
Clearly, because I understand that completely.
Yes.
And it can be you've had a conversation about a book and it's rekindled that love, or you've seen an episode of TV and they've mentioned something that reminds you of the book, or it's just I tell you what, The Big Bang Theory did that for me really early on when they referenced Firefly, and I was like, I should watch that again, even though I'd just finished watching it pretty much. And I was like, I'm going to watch that again.
That happens to me always with Supernatural and Stargate SG-1, because I see actors from those 2 shows everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, now I need to go watch either Supernatural, Stargate SG-1, because they were this person there. So it's just amazing how many actors.
How much I love them.
Yes, exactly. So now I need to go watch it. So you're right. Like it is amazing, the little things that will remind you to go reread or rewatch something. Yeah,
absolutely. For me, it's Mark
Jaffa Cree, yes. Donar is my boy. Yeah. Oh my God.
It's Mark Sheppard for me is the one. He shows up in all my favorite TV shows. Eventually, he's in them. Eventually, So he's been in Doctor Who. He's been in Supernatural. He's been in Firefly. He's been in Battlestar Galactica. He's been in all of the shows that I love.
Wow.
So clearly, if he's in a show, I need to watch it.
Yes, this is actor. I think his name is Roger Jones. Gosh, can I remember? He is a Black sci-fi actor, and he has been like in everything. Is Roger something? But he was in.
Who was in the show.
He's always like a side character. I first got introduced to him in a show called First Wave that was on Sci-Fi Channel like back in the day, and then he was in Stargate SG-1 as one of the Air Force officers, and I can't remember. Gosh, he did make an appearance in Supernatural one time, and Buffy, and I think he's a Canadian actor, because all these shows are filmed in Canada. So
they're all filmed in Vancouver.
If there's a sci-fi show filmed in Canada, he is going to be in it. He was in the show, Dark Matter, not the adaptation of the book by Blake Crouch, but that was the earliest show, Dark Matter. He was like one of the main characters in there. He's been, I think it's Roger.
Just talking about Black characters in TV shows, I can't think of the man's name, but you're a fan of Supernatural. You'll know who I mean. The guy who plays Rufus. I love him.
I love
I loved
Rufus.
him so much.
Yes, I do.
And every now and then I'll see
Yeah.
him in something else and I'll think, oh, it's Rufus.
Yes,
And
I would do the
oh,
same.
I just love
Yes,
him. I would
I love
see
him.
his name come up, which I can't for the life of me think what it is right now. And I'd be
I
like,
can't
oh,
either.
Rufus is in the episode. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah. There's a
Because
lot of
I just
actors.
loved that character's attitude. I mean, he just did that with, oh, I love that
Yes.
they made him Jewish.
Yeah, I
It
know
just
that was
somehow
hilarious.
made him so funny. And yeah,
Yes.
it was,
Yeah.
and that's the thing, is some people are able to bring something to the character.
hmm
And that actor just made Rufus come alive for me. He
Yeah,
really
he
did. Because
did.
he could
He's
have been
definitely one
quite
of
a
the most.
forgettable side character.
He
But no,
could.
he stole a lot of those scenes.
Yeah.
And
He's definitely one of the
he
most
was really,
memorable characters. Yeah.
I just loved him. I thought he was, I wish I was really, when they killed him off, I was
I
shitty because I was like, you better bring him back. I mean, it's supernatural. So many of them do come back.
yeah.
And they bloody didn't.
They did.
Oh, I was angry.
Yeah.
I mean, he
Yeah,
did
I
do
was
one
the
episode. But, oh, I was like, oh.
yeah. I hate that's the only thing I hate about Supernatural. They would always kill off when they killed Charlie off, I was so
Right.
mad.
I was like, I'm not talking to you. I
Yeah. I can't
like
believe
I
like they
can't even
always
watch you anymore. And then I'm like, I
yes.
totally have to keep watching. But
Yeah, I have to keep
I
watching.
was
I'm like
really angry.
I was
He
too. I'm like
killed
you can't
Charlie.
why no one should be friends with Sam or Dean because if you do you just end up dead.
Could
It
die.
doesn't it doesn't
And if
even
you're a
matter.
girl, don't get involved with Sam. Just
Not at
don't.
all. No.
It's a
Yeah.
bad idea.
Yes.
But
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
yeah, it was a problem for them. I've heard Eric Kripke and a couple of the later showrunners talk about that, actually, the fact how much they struggled with trying to have female people in the show because it
Mm,
just didn't fit the dynamic that they had
mm,
that was working. It was
got
these
you.
two guys
Okay.
on the road, and the minute they've got a love interest, it disrupts that chemistry that is what makes the
Yeah.
show work.
Yeah.
And so they were talking about how difficult it was, and that every now and then they'd find somebody that just worked, and they would become these recurring characters. Like we had Charlie, and we had Jodie, and we had Donna,
Mm,
and we had these characters but they had to go to keep the core dynamic working. They
mm,
couldn't include
mm.
them too often because it just made it not work. And I was like, they were so
Well,
great though.
yeah,
And
they
I was
were. I guess that kind of makes sense, but still, I love
I
them.
was disappointed that the spin-off with the girls didn't work because I think Wayward Sisters could have been great.
I was shocked. I thought if one of the spin because I know they had tried to do another one in Chicago.
Yeah, that one I didn't think was ever going to work. That was the
Yeah,
Bloodlines one. Yeah,
yeah,
like
but
mobster
I thought for sure.
changelings,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. I thought.
Okay.
I thought for sure Wayward Sisters was
Yeah,
gonna take off.
and
I
I
would
was
have watched
gutted that
that.
it didn't.
Yeah.
Like, mm.
But-
Admittedly, the one episode that they did for it, the one that would have been the pilot into a new show,
Mhm.
I wasn't a fan of that episode. I was like, that isn't why we watch Supernatural.
No, that's a good
I
point.
don't like this new format that they want to try and go with. No,
Yeah, they
I
should have
want to see
just.
Jodie and Donna killing monsters like
Yeah,
Sam and Dean.
yeah.
And,
Just
and
if it
they
isn't
didn't
broke,
do that.
no. If it
Exactly.
isn't, you don't fix it. Like you didn't have to do anything.
That's
You did not
right.
need to change the formula. You
Yeah.
know, you just had to
I
put new
would-
numbers in. I like Angel a
Yep.
little bit more than Buffy.
Yeah. I'm
Shadi,
thinking Angel and Buffy.
yeah, it's funny. Like speaking of like David Boreanaz, he's somebody who's like because I loved Buffy, I loved Angel, and I loved Bones. So he's like I've
Yeah.
been watching him basically my whole life.
Yep.
I love.
Yeah,
I
he's
love
been on the
David
telly
Boreanaz.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah, he has. He has. I agree, Thorna. I would have loved
Yeah.
to see how like the father because and his
I have to
origin
admit, though, by
more.
the time the show had sort of rolled into its end, they'd kind of made John into this really bad father. And
Yeah,
I'm not
it
saying I
did.
disagree with that because when you look at
Mm,
it, he kind of was.
mm,
But it would have taken away, I think, from enjoying him as a character in his own right in a TV show.
mm,
Because you'd
yeah,
know, you'd be like, yeah, but you're going to grow up and do these awful things to your boys and traumatize them so badly. These boys
Yes,
are never going to be in a healthy relationship. Okay.
because of you. That's
Yeah.
a good point. Yeah.
But I tell you what, I would have watched a Bobby and Rufus show. Oh my
Oh
God, I would
yeah, I
have
would
watched
love
the hell out of that.
them two together. Oh my god.
Oh, they're like the
Yeah.
perfect odd couple. I just
Yes.
love them. But
Yeah.
talk about Buffy and Angel. Cordelia, how is that for a character arc?
Oh my god.
When you
Best
meet
character
her
growth
in
ever.
Buffy,
Yeah.
she's this intolerable,
Yeah.
selfish airhead. And yet by the end of Angel, you're like, I love you.
I
You're
mean,
you're
she
the
became
best.
she became my favorite character in the whole
Yeah.
Buffyverse. Yeah, I
You know,
love
who would have
Cordelia.
thought?
Yeah, I
Who
mean,
would have thought?
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Despite,
Cordelia, it was
yeah,
the original Mean Girl.
yeah, she
Uh,
was.
it predated the movie Mean Girl. And
Yes,
so many of what became Mean Girl tropes began with
yes,
Cordelia.
yep.
And she was so perfect. She pulled it off so well.
She
Like,
did. Yeah,
I
and to
just loved
think,
her. Oh,
charisma. To think that she actually auditioned to be Buffy,
I know.
and but she was so perfect as Cordelia.
She really was. And let's face it, I mean, she went on to do more seasons than Buffy
Yeah,
because she
yeah,
was
she
in
sure
all of
did.
Buffy and then she was in all of
She was in
Angel.
all Angel. Yes.
And she and James Masters did an episode in Supernatural. So
They
that was a great
did.
episode.
That was
I know.
great. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was great.
But that's part of why I think geek culture has become, I don't know what the word is. It's become genuinely part of pop culture, and that
It
you
has.
can have these references to other geek things, and that's cool.
It
Whether the
is.
main population get it doesn't matter. The geeks are going to
No.
get it.
Yes.
If you
Yes.
put Charisma Carpenter and James Masters in an episode of anything together, people are going to
Yes.
go, "Oh, it's Spike and
Yes.
Cordelia!"
Yes.
Because it's Spike and Cordelia,
Yes.
and that is
Yes, we
in
are.
itself really cool.
Yeah. Yes.
Because that's what I
That's
did
very
when
true.
the credits roll up, guest starring. I was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God."
Yes, I died.
I
And
I
going
I
off
had a
Faith.
fangirl moment.
Yes. I have been.
And
I don't know.
Faith is the
I do
British
like
Slayer.
Faith, but I don't. My favorite
I like
Slayer.
Eliza
was-
Dushku in Dollhouse. She
haven't
was
watched
able to
Dollhouse.
act in Dollhouse.
Yeah, I
Again,
like her as a
product
name.
of its
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
It's probably the only show of Joss's that I've seen where I can see that he's a little bit misogynist. But it's the
Okay.
only show that I can pick that up from.
Mhm. Okay.
I did enjoy it though, and I'm a bit gutted it got stopped after just the 2 seasons because it was going somewhere.
Okay. That's.
But no, I
I
enjoyed
do
it.
love. Oh yeah, Laria and Lauren. Yes, yeah. Angel definitely had great side characters. They did. And Laria, I
God,
wish
yeah.
they did explore more with the Laria. She only got like a few episodes of the last season, but
I mean, those actors, that core of the Whedonverse, as it is,
yes,
I love seeing them in anything
I do
because
too.
I've formed such an emotional bond with them because of
Yes.
the characters that they've played for me. And as you were saying before, so many of these shows are filmed in Vancouver. A lot of them live in Canada, so they show up in all the same shows.
They do. Yeah, yeah. Because I started like years ago. How I Met Your Mother. I started watching it because Willow was in it. I was
Yes.
like, Willow. And I was like,
Yeah.
I gotta go watch. Yeah. So I'm totally
And
with
she's
you.
done really well. I mean, how could
She's
you
done
argue?
she's had a remarkable career.
She has, and
Yeah.
she's sort of played the same character.
She
That's sort of
has.
begun at the same place, and that she's gone different places, but she's begun
Yeah.
as that very innocent, very open kind of friend, and
Mhm.
she's lovely. I mean, I think Alison Hannigan's a really good actress.
Yeah,
But, yeah,
she is.
and
Let's
she's
talk
beautiful,
about-
which always helps.
She is. Like when she's like in Buffy, when you see her like transition and start to kind of come into her own beauty, you're like, oh, okay, Willow's hot.
Yeah, and then she got
Yeah.
all dark and scary, and you're like, "Whoa, girl, yeah,
Yes.
she's smoking."
Yeah.
Eat your heart out, Buffy. You have nothing on Willow.
No,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I loved her and
yes.
Tara together. God, that's one of my favorite couples.
Yeah, and we're talking
Yeah.
about, breakthrough moments in books with gay characters. That
Mhm.
was a breakthrough moment in TV for gay characters because it wasn't
It
a
was.
gimmick. It was like, no, this is actually an important plot line. This is a
Mhm.
serious relationship, and we're having real issues, and we're dealing with them in a realistic way. And I loved seeing that relationship on screen. Loved
I did
it
too.
so much.
I did too. Yeah.
And
And
I think any time a show does that, it's invaluable,
it is. It is. Especially in that
especially
time
for that
period.
age group.
Yeah.
Buffy is aimed at
Yes.
a young
Yeah.
audience. It's aimed
It
at
is.
young people who are sort of deciding. They're sort of going, well,
Hmm.
is this a phase, or is this who I am, or
Hmm.
how important is this relationship, and is it okay to be feeling like that? Because
Yes,
you doubt yourself when you're a teenager.
you
So to
do
be
in every
shown
way.
that, you know what, it's actually okay,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I'm
there's
fine.
nothing wrong with
Mm.
you, and
Mm.
nobody should be blinking twice. And look, we're going to normalize it. We're going to put it in Buffy.
Yeah. And they did. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh,
But
good old Joss. Yeah.
yeah, I was really sad when he was cancelled. I was
Yeah, I
speaking to
was
Matt
too.
about it because he's just finished a rewatch of Buffy.
Mm.
That I'm really sad that Joss has been cancelled, because he hasn't been cancelled for assault. He hasn't been cancelled for
Yeah.
like
That's
heinous crimes.
not a crime. Yeah,
He's
right.
cancelled for being an asshole.
Yeah, he's a total douchebag, which is just
So
yeah.
there's
Hmm.
assholes in a lot of places.
Yeah,
And it
it
makes me
is.
sad that he's been
It
cancelled,
does.
because I think he did a lot of important breaking of ground in TV,
Yeah.
because he did bring us same-sex characters. He did bring us roles for women that were more than arm candy. I mean,
Hmm.
Zoe and Firefly. If that's not a
Yes.
freaking poster child for feminism, I don't know what is.
Yes. Oh my God. And she's
Oh,
beautiful. God. I mean,
I
she's a
want to be her
goddess.
when I grow up. She is
Oh
just the
my God.
most incredible character. I
Yes.
love her.
Yes. I love
And
her too.
she's and so to have lost somebody with the ability to create those
I know.
roles, to create worlds where they can flourish, I think is a loss. So I'm still really sad he's been cancelled.
Yeah, me too. And I just finished, like right before Dexter, I finished watching Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which she executive produced.
Yes,
And I mean, he does a really great job with that. I mean,
some of
and
it's really nuanced. Like there's some
it
really
is.
deep storytelling happening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm like, no, now that's not going to happen. At least not anytime soon. We can
no,
hopefully, I mean,
and
I
he
think,
got removed from a show that I subsequently never watched. The I can't even think now what it's called.
yeah.
I can't remember, but I remember thinking, oh, I want to watch that. And then it all came out that he was an asshole, and he was removed as a writer and showrunner. And I sort of went, well, I don't care now. It's not going to be the vision that he
No,
had now, because they're going to
no.
go, oh no, Joss had his hand in it. We must change it. It's not
Yes.
going to be good now.
And that
So,
that sucks. So vanished
yeah,
birds.
right.
That was it will satisfy my Firefly itch. Is that true, Derry?
Um, no, sorry. Like the small tight knit crew kind of thing, yes.
Okay.
But not in the same kind of family vibe that Firefly has. That
Okay.
is what we love about Firefly.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
It's found family, but is it?
Yeah.
Sorry, no.
I mean, Firefly just
It's.
and
I
that
mean,
episode.
that's
Yeah.
Firefly, man.
Yeah, it is.
Trying to meet
And
Firefly anywhere is
yeah,
hard.
and that
So,
episode, that's still one of the scariest episodes when hey Haley, is that her name? Kaylee. When she's
Kaylee.
yeah, when she's alone on the ship and that guy comes
Oh my God,
and the
that last
way
episode, Object in
yeah,
Space, and he comes out
yeah,
of nowhere,
yeah,
and she's just like, "Bah, bah,"
yeah,
and
and he's
the
like,
way he speaks to her is
yes.
horrifying.
Yeah, and then when he's like, have you ever been
Yeah,
raped? Like he's just asking for
like
tea,
just,
and that
have
that
you?
gave me chills. I'm like, oh my god, he delivered the way he
And he's
delivered that.
waiting for an answer.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
engaging in conversation with that.
Yeah,
I tell you what, my hair is standing on end as you've said that.
yeah.
It's
I'm
actually
like,
given me chills
wow.
because he gives me
Yes,
chills.
he does. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
the tragedy, oh my God, the tragedy of the
Yeah.
cancellation. Things
Yes.
like, how did Jubal know that Book wasn't a shepherd?
Hmm. Exactly.
Because Simon says, you
Hmm.
knocked out a shepherd. And Jubal says, he ain't a shepherd.
Ain't no shepherd. Yeah.
And you're like,
Man.
how do you know?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. So many
Ooh,
things that could have
goosebumps.
been explored. But
Yes.
again, I mean, I was rewatching Firefly recently. That's a
Mhm.
statement I could say at any point in my life ever.
Yes. Yeah.
And Jane is walking behind Mal and at the Evestown docks and on Persephone, because I am that much of a geek that I know that. And Jane's going, well, 10% of nothing is, well, let me do the math here. Well, 10 is
Yeah.
nothing, and it's nothing. In the background are massive containers with the Blue Sun logo on it. And every
Oh.
shot in that scene, that is the center of the shot, and the characters are framing it. And you're thinking that early he was building the groundwork to make that the big bad, making it so omnipresent in the worlds that they're in, that as the story was supposed to progress, you were supposed to be able to see how they had so much influence and why they could be the big bad. And I'm thinking he was putting that
Interesting.
work
Okay.
in so early.
Now I gotta pay attention to that next time I watch it. Next
Yeah,
time I do my Whedon binge.
it's incredible the amount of work he does to make Blue Sun a thing without ever mentioning them. I mean, when the boys are playing poker for chores and River goes on her strange bender and she's pulling labels off cans, they all have the Blue Sun logo on them. When she cuts Jane, when she just attacks him with a knife, he's wearing a Blue Sun logo shirt. And all of those things, you're thinking he knew really early where he wanted that story to go, to be putting that in the background, to be making it part of the world all the way through. You're like, so much of that groundwork, and for it to not come to anything is heartbreaking.
It is.
Oh,
yeah.
but,
What that show could have become.
It really
boy.
could have.
Oh yeah, Alicia, we should do a buddy read for Vanished Birds.
I really loved it. I really, really loved it. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I don't compare it to Firefly, doesn't mean it's not great. I really loved The Vanished Birds.
And Shadia is talking.
Yeah.
So everyone wants to read. So okay, I have to move it up. Evie, what?
You know how you feel about the spear cuts through water? That touches on vaguely how strongly I feel about the fact that you should be watching Firefly.
You watched
That's
the first
the
episode,
intensity there.
And you watch Serenity. Evie, you have to do better. You have to do better.
It is, frankly, the best 14 episodes of any show that aired ever. And
definitely.
Or rather didn't, because they only aired 12 of them. But it was, you
have to.
You just have to.
You do.
It's just the rules, okay?
Yes. Yes.
See Brokes with us. Just watch it, Evie.
Yeah. Oh, Alicia, you have to watch. Oh, you haven't watched it forever. Well, you should rewatch it.
That's
you should rewatch it. You rewatch it.
You should rewatch it.
I'll
See, the
rewatch
wonderful
it
thing
as
with it is I didn't even know it existed. I mean, it didn't air in New Zealand at all. And a friend of mine, a friend I'd met through the school where our children both went, was talking about something. And we were talking about Battlestar Galactica because that did air here. And I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. Have you seen it? And they're like, yeah, I love it almost as much as I love Firefly. And I'm like, what's Firefly? And she just went, what? I said, what's Firefly? She's like, and the following day she gave me her Firefly DVDs. She's like, just watch these. Just watch them. And I went home and I watched them, and I remember going back to her the next day and going, I've ordered my own copy. Can I keep these until they arrive? She was like, yeah, I have a couple of copies. It's fine. So,
Yeah.
but it meant that I never had to do the watching out of order. I got
neither
to
did
see it
I.
in the way it was supposed to be watched.
Yep.
And it was just it changed my life in that I suddenly knew that is what I wanted. This is what I want. This TV show is what I want.
Yes.
For everything.
Yeah, I never heard of it either until it started streaming, and it popped up as something that I should watch. And I saw it like Joss Whedon. I was like, oh yeah, definitely.
If you're a Buffy fan, then you're going to be like, I'm on it.
Yes. Yeah. And wow, I loved it from beginning to end. And I was like, wow, why does this only have one season? I don't understand. Yeah, it's phenomenal. Oh yes, Marina Baccarin is beautiful. And it's funny, her husband, Ben McKenzie, I was a big fan of him. He played in this. I don't know if you ever watched the OC. Like, I was a huge fan of
I didn't watch the OC, but I knew he was in it. Yeah.
Yeah, as a teenager, I was like a huge OC fan.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, it was. I mean, I think what I find, because the algorithm does know me, and it brings me all of the people who react to Firefly. So as soon as a reactor starts watching Firefly, I get you might like this. So I always watch them, because sometimes I will go on and watch other things that they react to.
Yep.
And I always know the ones I'm not going to follow, because they don't understand what a companion is. And I'm like, you haven't picked up at all on the nuance here. You're not going to get this show. And yet other people pick it up so early, and they're like, oh, okay. So this is a rank. This is somebody with status. Okay. And you can see them getting invested really quickly, because they've seen that there's nuance here. We're going to think about different societal reactions to things. And it's one of the litmus tests, if you like, for reactors. It's like, are you going to pick up on this quite obvious piece of nuance or not? And it makes it very easy to go, well, you aren't paying attention to the right things. But that's just me being judgmental. But
I'm gonna dig some of that stuff up. Chris McCull, that's an OC reference.
Chris McCull.
One of the main characters is Jewish. Okay.
I said Britney Spears, she got to work, bitch. Damn straight.
Oh yeah, and I'm a Britney fan. So Thornar, me and Thornar, we're like best buds, because we have so much in common.
Thornar is one of my heart people. I have lots of heart people, and Thornar is one of mine in the internet space.
Yeah.
Thornar and Chadia, my heart people. They always come visit. But yes, Evie, you really do need to find Firefly streaming. And
I've never watched The Girl from Tomorrow.
I've never even heard of The Girl from Tomorrow, and I live in New Zealand. We buy a lot of Australian television.
Interesting.
I it should mean a lot, Thano. You are genuinely a part of the channel.
Yeah, you are. You're great. You always
So
I always see him in live streams. So you're.
part
I
of
mean,
booktube.
you're a presence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Makes a difference. Actually, that's something I was going to ask you. Sorry, I forgot completely. And was
Mhm.
how long did you lurk before you joined booktube?
Probably a good, I'll say 2 years, maybe.
Ooh,
Yeah, cause
wow.
yeah, all I really watch is like Dan Green and Mike from Mike's Book Reviews. Like those are
Yeah.
like the two ones because I think I got into it when I was reading Wheel of Time.
Right.
And them two, they had like the most coverage, and
Yeah.
Mike even had like great summaries of the books, and so
Mhm.
and then the other booktubers started popping up on my channel, and that's when I discovered Matt from Matt's
Oh,
Fantasy Book Reviews, and other guy,
yeah.
and Philip Chase, and all these other guys, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's a thing. It's really
Yeah.
like it's a thing. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Like, oh, it's quite a lot of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so yeah, just I kind of lurked, watched, commented here and there, hopped on a Discord, and then I was like, there's like no black people here, especially black
Yeah.
dudes. I'm like, there's like hardly any black dudes here.
Yeah.
Let's do something about that. And so that's when I yeah decided to like hop on here, and my husband was a big like inspiration for that because I would
Yay,
go
Jake.
rant. Yes, I would go rant to him about books, and I was actually ranting to him about one of the Sun Eater books, and he was like, "You know what you need to do? It's like you're always talking about BookTube. Like, go record a video about how much you love these
Yeah.
books. Like, he said,
Absolutely.
mhm, yeah. So,
Well,
and that's what I
I agree
did.
with you, Jake. That was what was needed. Absolutely
Yeah,
was needed.
yeah.
Because it's
And I've
the only way
enjoyed
we're
it.
going to get varied voices is for people to go,
Yes.
hey, you're missing me. And so
Yes.
if I want to see me, I have to do it. And
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
happy to see
Because
you.
no, I'm happy to be here. And it's been, I mean, the warm reception has been so amazing, just so surprising. It's been
Well,
great.
I'm what's the word? Grateful's not the word. I have gratitude, which isn't the same as grateful. I have
Hmm.
gratitude that Jake said there is a space there.
Hmm. Yeah.
Put yourself in it, because
Yeah.
it isn't. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how familiar you are with New Zealand culture. New Zealand is a very multicultural country. There are
Mm.
a lot of brown people in this country, from the Pacific Islands, from
Wow.
South Africa, from uh, uh, South America. We've got a reasonable South American population. We've got a lot of Asian
Hmm.
people. It's very multicultural. So booktube to me is a really white space, because New
Mm.
Zealand isn't. It really isn't. Okay,
That's
we have a
interesting.
lot of brown people.
Mm.
People in our parliament have full facial traditional tribal tattoos. We had the
Wow.
first transgender MP in the world. New Zealand is
Oh.
pretty open to a lot of things. So I really noticed how white booktube was, and it was
Mm.
odd because
Yeah.
I'm not used to it.
Mm.
Our news readers, we have the Māori news here in Māori every day, that's on the Māori channel, that's programmed with Māori programs. It's part of daily being in New Zealand.
Wow.
So it just always struck me as so, like, it still surprises me how
Hmm.
divided America is, in that I generally don't notice until I'm dealing with people from America,
Mm.
because
Hmm.
it's just not a thing that
And
we
it's
tend to think about
interesting.
here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like, yeah,
And
there's
I,
definitely a space. Somebody please,
yes.
because it feels weird. There's a massive population of people not being represented.
Yeah.
That
It is
seems
strange,
really
especially
weird.
in 2024. It's
Yeah.
strange.
I mean,
Yeah.
our parliament, I think, is one of the most multicultural in the world. I'm very used to having varied representation of people in any sphere that has opinion. So, for books, which for me is very important to hear people's opinions on, to
Yes.
be so concentrated in
Hmm.
one part of a population just seems very foreign to me.
It is.
So
It is odd.
it's
And
very
you know, the
strange.
like I've heard that before. And in fact, it seems like it's relegated to like the 48 contiguous states because like I've met people from like Hawaii and Alaska who say like the racial division is not like it is
No.
in the states, like the land states. So it's kind of
Yeah.
it's
I
kind of
mean, and
interesting.
it astonishes me. It really does that
Yeah.
it is still so visible
Hmm.
today in
Yeah.
2024. And again, I think because I live in New Zealand, it's a very small country, and we do have such a large population of Pacific Island peoples who are very, I'm not even going to say similar, but are aligned in a lot of ways
Hmm.
with the
Yeah.
native culture. It's a
Mm.
very welcoming kind of thing. It's like, oh yeah, you're kind of one of us, no worries. And
Mm.
it's far more relaxed. It's like, and it's tiny, so change is easier, I think, with
Yeah.
smaller populations. So,
True.
I mean, how many freaking many people live in America? So many people,
So many. 300
and
million.
it
Yeah.
doesn't take much for one area to just go, things are fine. We don't need to change, and to
Yeah.
just
Mm.
resist change, just to
Yes.
make it difficult. And enough places like that are going to halt change. But it's tragic. Like, it's tragic.
It is. Yeah.
So
Long way to go. Yeah. Well, Derry, I
I
could talk
just,
to
yeah.
you all day, but it's like dinner time, and my husband is he's pinging
Yeah,
me.
yeah. I was just
Like,
looking at the clock and you said that. I was like, oh,
like
Christ, it's 9:10.
dinner.
Okay, we have been talking a while.
But oh
So,
my God, I've had so much fun talking to you, Derry. Thank you.
yeah, we'll
Thank you
have to
so
do it
much.
again, definitely.
Yeah. Yes, we
And if
do.
you haven't already, do take Evie's advice and watch Flight of the Conchords. So,
Oh, I will.
because
Okay.
they are New Zealand's fourth favourite folk comedy acoustic duo.
Okay.
That's their own tagline. They're very
That's,
funny. So,
oh, cool. Okay. I got
alrighty.
so many wonderful suggestions and recommendations today.
All right.
And I will,
Well,
yes. And
yeah.
and one more thing, thank you, Even. I'm going to read The Vanished Birds. I'm going to read that. I'm gonna make that my a September read. I'm gonna make it a September read.
It is. I thought it was beautiful. So anyway, we're
Mm,
going to wave because we're going to end the stream. So I'm going to
yes.
love you and